Good afternoon, and welcome back to another episode of Confessions from the Dark Side. Today it's going to be a different podcast, still same concept, but we are going to revert to what the podcast was originally supposed to be called, which was Confessions from the Front Seat of the Impala. Today's episode is going to be focusing on the complete season 1 of Supernatural, and I am looking forward to going through this with you. I'm Luna Rising.
And I'm Darcy Darkness.
And how are you doing today, besides being hot?
And
Yeah.
temperature. I'm much better now that I'm talking to you.
Well, aw shucks.
I can say nice things sometimes.
I never said you couldn't. Yes, I'm definitely excited to go through all these seasons with you because I'm definitely excited for you to get the last 2 seasons done and over with from what you haven't seen. But on this particular episode is going to be season 1 recap or breakdown, however you want to call it. Questions, comments, laughs, jokes, who's on whose team, and what our thoughts are about each season. Anytime that we do any of the Supernatural podcasts, the opening will be Confessions from the Front Seat of the Impala. They will not be Confessions from the Dark Side. This was the original title. Darcy and I sat there and we talked, and we figured, you know what, we're going to do this podcast as a horror podcast, as a thriller, sci-fi, whatever random nonsense her and I can come up with is great. We have a lot of the same likes. We definitely do not agree on absolutely everything, but that's okay. There's always going to be debates.
Pushback.
Yes, debates, pushback, and fun little bickering between her and I because there are going to be some differences. But at the same time, it's what we're here for, just to have fun and have a good time. And if we see any comments that you guys have that you guys love to joke around with, that's encourage it. We definitely want you guys to interact with us as much as we want to interact with you. Darcy, I know you and I have talked numerous times. You have seen Supernatural numerous times, but you have not finished it.
Do I want to tell why?
Yes, go ahead and tell why.
It's because if I don't finish every single episode, then it hasn't ended for me and the universe is still ongoing. Am I not case? Maybe. Maybe not. I love this show, and when I found out it was getting an ending, which really happens for a show that's been going on for long as that, sometimes you would suspect it to be cancelled before it gets its ending, but it didn't. And I'm really glad that the actors and the writers were, again, amicably could end it rather than leave us hanging. So we did decide. Well, I didn't decide to. I was going to continue not watching the seasons because what I used to do was when a season was about to air, I would start watching from season 1 again. Yes, season 1 again, and then go all the way through till it got to like the season. And I did that right up until like I think I've seen only a couple of episodes. I think I've seen half actually of season 12, and then I don't know what happened, why I stopped, but that's where I stopped there. And then again, I thought we only had 13 seasons, and then it was someone on my Twitch that said, oh, by the way, there's 5 seasons, and I was like, okay, it's like, so I have a few to watch. And then we kept debating on, you should just watch it from where you left off. And I was like, but I can't do that. My brain will tell me to go back to the start. So that's what we did. We were going back to the start. And I have been rewatching them. Luna knows that I've been taking notes. It went from, 16 pages for an episode to basically down to 3 pages, didn't it, after like me going through everything. Yeah. So I have notes in front of me of every single episode of some questions that I think we've discussed a few times again on Discord and things like that about the relationship. Season 1 is about that. It's more about the boys try to find their dad, and also the relationship as brothers, and what they're wanting to do, and their life's been so completely different, yet they're still the same. And that's pretty much what a lot of season 1 is. It's more of like a team building exercise, with that person you don't usually like at work and you've got to like be their friend and stuff. Yeah, this is what pretty much season 1 is all about between Sam and Dean. I'm looking forward to breaking everything down. We were going to do it per episode, but then we would be here like forever, which is a good thing having all that content. But we decided just to do season, and we have spoke about it on a was it last podcast that the last 2 episodes of season 15 we're hoping to stream them, aren't we? And
Yep.
you're going to watch my reaction of the last 2 episodes. But a disclosure is you either see my eyes or the bottom half of my face. I will never be fully on camera. That's just because it's my brand, which is behind the mask. I don't show my face because it should be about content and not about what I look like.
Absolutely.
So
Now I will say this: season or episode, season 15, not the last episode, but the episode before that. In my opinion, however you wear the mask, it's not going to be too big of a deal. But I want to say season 15. I want to see the eyes. That's going to be my opinion. However you want to do it is completely up to you. But I would prefer to see your eyes during that episode because yeah, you can see the mouth, your jaw may drop, which is going to be a reaction, but I want to see the eyes.
my jaw drops every time I watch
Yeah,
it.
I want to see the eyes.
So-
I want to see the raw emotion from the eyes at least. But that's going to be my opinion. Whether or not you do it, that's completely up to you, but that's just my opinion.
Well, it's the raw emotion of an autistic person as well, so you're literally going to get dead eyes. You know,
Oh,
I get
absolutely.
what you mean. There's a lot of emotion that you can see in the eyes rather than the eyes don't hide much, but you can literally hide a lot, and you can lie the bottom half of your face if you know what I mean. But your eyes, you can't, unfortunately.
Yes. Also, a disclaimer, I don't think she mentioned it. I have seen all 15 seasons.
But you agreed that you would spoil it, and
Yep.
also Demire on Twitch said
Yep.
no spoiler.
So between Darcy and I, we are those people that really don't really care about spoilers too much, but this is one of those ones that she definitely does not need to have any spoilers. So if anybody does listen to this episode and you do comment, please no spoilers because we have 14 more seasons to make it through. And we're gonna break them down. This will probably be a podcast. This episode specifically for Supernatural, probably maybe a once a month podcast, depending on how fast you can get through the episodes. We are here for it. And again, if there's any other shows that you guys want us to break down that either Darcy and I have seen or have not seen, please feel free to put them in the comment because we would love to break stuff down for you guys.
And also watch them
Yes.
together and stream and everything
Yes,
like that.
this isn't
Yeah,
really
definitely.
necessarily going to be a breakdown channel. This is more of a discussion channel. But if there is anything that you guys would like to hear our opinions about to break down from what you guys think, we would absolutely love to do that.
And also have a conversation about it and literally just have fun talking about it because that's what this podcast is all about. So
Absolutely.
who's starting? Are we going to start? You want to see the infamous line?
I think you can say the infamous line since you are the one going through this. You are the one that is, I wouldn't say new to it, but because you're going through this with a different mindset to be able to actually finish
Yeah.
all 15 seasons, I think I'll let you pop the cherry on the infamous line.
Well, I'll start off with Sam Winchester is at college. His future, his family, his past, his right now. Let's see what we have to say. Let's see what we have noticed. Let's see what we can reveal. So the pilot has an infamous line that Dean says. He says a bunch of stuff, but this is the thing that always gets used in the recap and still probably up to season 15. They probably use it. Dean, Dad's been on a hunting trip and he hasn't been home in a few days. This is basically what a warning would be. Like their father he always checks in, it seems to be via text or coordinates, as we find out through each episode.
Yes.
This episode, basically, Sam has got an interview for law school, but Dean wants him to come help him find their dad, etc. So
the interesting thing is to bring up the interview and Dean wanting to get Sam's help is Sam's unwillingness at first. And we will get into that, but it was interesting from the get-go that Dean,
he was going to discuss it in front of Jess.
yeah,
Because he says Dad hasn't been home in a few days, and then he changes it to say no.
yeah, just
He's been on a hunting trip and he's not been home. And then he tells her to like go away.
Yeah, it was one of those things where the unwillingness, not just because of Dean coming out of the blue, and I can't remember if they explained how long Dean and Sam really hasn't talked.
They hadn't spoken two
That's what it
years when
was,
they
2 years.
walked out.
I thought it was 4, but no, it was 2. So just Dean coming out of the blue just for Sam's help for their father being out on a hunting trip, missing.
Which again sounds
Yes.
like innocent when you think about it, because the dad likes a good drink, and who doesn't like a good drink and a good hunt? Do you know what I mean? Well, not here in the UK because you don't really get that here, but still, it doesn't sound like anything particularly dangerous, and that's why there was kind of that feeling when he said it, because it was all relaxed, and then he just looks at him and just see that whole thing when he goes, "Dad's been on a hunting trip and he has been home in a few days," and it's just the way Sam changes. Like, you can say what the fuck you want in front of Jess. I'm not hiding anything from her. And the minute he said that, he was just like, yeah, let's just go outside and talk.
Yeah, and you could just
Type
tell.
thing, because again, see, I still don't think he would share the hunting with Jess because he wouldn't want to burden her with it, and also she might think he's mental. Like, I think you need to go to a psychiatric facility. There's something wrong with you. Do you know what I mean? He was protecting her.
I mean, the other big thing with that too was Dean showing up. Definitely kind of sets the tone because Sam was off at college. He was building his future, his family, and he was trying to escape his past because he did grow up for the most part in that family. So when Dean shows up, you could just kind of see you could see like the kind of the
I didn't
emotion.
feel it like it's a family.
Yeah, I mean, but you can see his emotionless in his eyes from growing up and following in the family footsteps, and you can see in Sam just the life, the enjoyment that he's having. And that kind of definitely sets the tone between the brothers and how this pilot episode was going to go. So, go ahead. I know you had a couple questions.
Going through my notes there, and he goes, the things that I've noticed about the pilot is how unstable John actually is, yet Dean will stand up for him no matter what. Whereas Sam is a wee bit like his dad, but he's also like his mum as well, where he's more like, I'll go do what I want. Like, I'm not going to sit back and take orders from. Whereas Dean is kind of like a regiment. He is like a soldier. He is, he sees his father as, like, even John says, he became a drill sergeant when the mother passed away. So he had to become mother, father. He had to basically set boundaries, but it was different boundaries because they weren't living in our world. They were living in their world, the world that this shit is fucking normal, whereas everybody else, this is abnormal, and no one would ever actually, be able to understand it unless they were going through it themselves. So I hate the fact Dean kind of tries to guilt Sam, because Sam made a decision to leave because he's an adult, so therefore he can do that. But they kept trying to drag him back. But I get it. Dean wanted backup. Even though he'd been doing hunts himself, and they joke about it in a couple of episodes into it, like, Dad let you go off and do your own. Like, he's got the Impala as well. The car, that car's his dad's, not his. So he's trusted him with the car. He's trusted him to go do hunting himself. But between both of them, and I'm skipping probably halfway through just because that will happen in this episode, because obviously we've watched it. Dean and Sam, it's like yin and yang, and they fit together, and they have their strengths and their weaknesses, but they both help each other in that way. Like, Dean will go off in one, like, and just go off, and Sam's just like, no, you can't do it like that. And then Sam will do something stupid, and Dean's like, what the fuck are you doing? Do you know what I mean? He's like, you can't do that. Do you mean? So they both, even though they're incredibly different, they are similar, and you do get that with siblings. Not always, but they are totally different yet the same. But Dean, he's dad, in my opinion, he's playing a father. He's not playing a brother.
Yes.
He's playing an additional father, a parent, because that's what, even though there's not many years, I think it's 1979 they're saying he was born. I think Dean, and he was born in 1983, so there's 4 years between the brothers. But Dean had to grow up really, really, like, he had to become an adult basically to replace the mother. Not saying that Dean's Mary, but you know what I mean. The dad is fucking off, and someone had to look after Sam. It's always, you always have to look out for Sam. You've always got to do stuff for Sam. You know what I mean? And he always feels like he has to prove himself to his dad. And again, you find that out in one of the episodes halfway through closer to the end, that Dean is always having to prove that he can do it, because there's times where he's made the wrong decision, and some people think it's selfish, but it's not, because he was a child and he didn't even get to be a child because he had to be an adult. Whereas Sam got to be a child to some extent, And that's what I see when in the first episode, where he comes in like not like a brother, he comes in like a parent to say, look, we need to do this, we need to do this now, we need to go, because the dad's not there now. He's literally took the reins of a father, and he has to do that because, again, I don't think John was very stable enough to be their father, because he was dealing with his own grief. And we don't actually know if he knew about Mary's past and the family. We do find that in seasons later, but still she kept loads of stuff for him. So he might have not known about that stuff and he's found it out. So it's all weird.
Yes.
So in the first episode, a lot of shit happens, including he goes away to try and find her dad, and then when he comes back, he says, Jess, are you up? Kind of thing. And he walks in and he sees Jess on the ceiling of all things, and then she looks like she's screaming for help, but I think she's dead already, isn't she? And then she goes up in flames, or she's just in shock. And the questions I had was, why now? Why Jess? Planned? Was it destiny? Was Jess always supposed to die this way? Was that the plan all along? Why did no one look into this strange and unusual death? Because that's something they didn't look into, and we find it out with plenty of the parents or the mothers that were killed in this way, in a similar way. No one really looked into it. They said it was like a freak accident. No one looked into it. It made no sense. Dean says, Sam, we made a hell of a team back there. He goes, and then he agrees, and then Dean drives off. And the last song that's playing is Highway to Hell by AC/DC, and I said the songs at the end seem to represent the episode and the outcome. Because I like that, plus the music in Supernatural is another thing that makes it stand out from the rest of the shows in its genre, and it's always been the best. And I feel that that's an Easter egg that kind of ties up the episode, the songs they pick, and even the songs they pick all the way through it kind of tie in with the story as well. I don't know if you felt that way.
Absolutely. Because, it was the very first episode, so they didn't necessarily have the iconic song that we're used to. Tying in each episode with a song at the end always was a little bit of an Easter egg. I did notice that throughout each of the episodes, each of the seasons, and they always had different feels to them. So, yeah.
I always felt that maybe there was something in each song. So I was going to list all the songs from the episodes. All the songs in the episode I've already got. But I was going to list the ones from the, end credits, not end credit, but the end scene, and see if it actually, between the lyrics of the song and the band and the song, I don't know if that's maybe another thing that could actually be an Easter egg in it, because obviously it's a lot of rock and metal that they use.
Yes, well, I mean,
Because remember, a lot of song lyrics and stuff had different messages because of the time when they were out as well.
Yep. I mean, that was Dean though. Dean was the rocker, and definitely knew how to pick his music. Yeah, so was John, but they definitely knew how to pick their music. And I have a thing too that I think a lot of the music that is picked, because they make numerous references throughout each of the episodes, or even in just a few of the episodes throughout later seasons, that Dean does say is, driver picks the music, passenger shuts his cake hole.
That's too much.
So what makes me think about it too is we're not listening to the radio. We're listening to a playlist that John has made up, that because it is his car. I think it is a playlist that he had made up, and that's what the boys listen to.
So what was your kind of feeling the first time you seen episode 1?
I mean, as you know, we both, love the supernatural, the dark, the horror, all that stuff. So, and coincidentally, there was a TV series coming out that was called Supernatural. Well, I'm in for it. Let me watch it. Just that opening scene kind of got me hooked immediately. Just see a woman up on a ceiling, bursting in flames, and then,
What's not to like?
Yeah, what's not that like? And then it pans to, years later, to where you find out that the two main characters were the baby in the crib and the brother. And you at that point in time, you have, again, a woman on the ceiling catching in flames for a freak accident of a death, as they call it. Two brothers who have grown up two different lives, and then you end up finding out that they are actually hunters. Well, one of the brothers is a hunter. The other one's trying to live his life to the way he wants to live it. And then, it all comes...
But he's dragged back.
Yeah, he's dragged back, and it all comes into play. And I think when it comes all into play and everything kind of makes full circle, especially through that pilot episode, to where Sam unfortunately does meet a bitter end with someone close to him, and to realize that Jess is killed the same way that the woman was in the opening credit scene, it definitely keeps you hooked, because now you want to know what happened. Why did this happen? What is these two seemingly human brother is going to do about what happened. And then that's when you find out that they are part of a hunting. And for anybody that is listening, you'll come to realize that we'll use hunters a lot, and that is specifically because that is what they're called in the show. But when you do hear hunting, and even, that opening infamous line is, on a hunting trip, our dad is missing, you come to think, well, how did he go missing hunting deer or hunting bison or hunt? No, 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 no. You will learn that they hunt more sinister, demonic, supernatural things.
They're
So,
protecting
yes,
not just self, but the
yes, they
universe
are
from
protecting
shit that we
everybody.
don't know about.
I mean, it hooked me from that very first episode. I think for the longest time, I only did watch it up to season 9, and then I took a hiatus from watching it, and I can't remember why I did. And I think it was probably about a year and a half ago, if not 2 years ago, I finally did finish fully watching it because I had seen that it was on Netflix, and I think I fully watched it during shutdown for COVID because I was like,
The apocalypse.
yeah, but I was able to fully watch it, but I was like you in a way because I restarted from season 1 and watched it all the way through.
Because we're invested.
Exactly, and now we're doing something and talking about it.
Invested
Yes,
together.
we're investing to each other, and we're doing a little bit of investment out of this. So,
So the next episode, though, is called Wendigo, and I'm going to talk about the fact that there's a lot of episodes in Supernatural that, even though they're not part of the main story, I spoke about it and I kind of touched on it from the start that Dean and Sam, it's all about them getting back into hunting without their father being there because it's like them working together. It's like their dad's fucked off for a reason. Yes, he's fucked off to find out some things, but he's also left Dean in charge to go get Sam. Dean was no help for his dad. Was that reason what happened was to get Sam back? We don't know. They've never really touched on that. They never actually said that, the dad went AWOL for that reason. But Wendigo is, how would you describe a Wendigo? It's not human, but it technically can take human form. It can mimic human voices. Basically a bunch of things. John's coordinates, doesn't he?
yes, if I can remember correctly, the best description for the Wendigo was a human who had fed on human blood or meat, depending on how you want to
Well,
really
but
look at
how
it.
would they become immortal? Because it's every 35 years. That's the other thing. Every 35 years, people were being,
Uh,
hunted
well, I think
in the
the I
woods.
think the feasting on the human flesh and the human blood is what made them immortal, but it cursed them, turning them into the Wendigo to where they had to continuously feast to stay immortal and to yeah, they had to yeah,
That's a cycle
it's a
of 35
cycle.
years.
I think
Kind of
that's a
like
good way to put
Tombs
it.
and X-Files. Tombs and X-Files was like that every
Yes.
how many decades. He'd have to eat so much and then, he'd go back into hibernation. Well, this episode basically campers and hikers have been disappearing in a place called Blackwater Ridge, and their father sends them coordinates, which is how he actually communicates with them. So they actually know he is okay because he sent them coordinates rather than phoning them and telling them, I'm doing all right. You don't need to come looking for me. Do you know what I mean? No, he just sends them coordinates. Doesn't give a fuck. Serial killer, serial demon, something strange and unusual, perhaps. That's the Wendigo. Because in this episode, Sam is dreaming that he is at Jess's grave, which is his girlfriend who just died. And when he wakes up, the song playing in the Impala, is Hot Blooded by Foreigner, which I thought was in such bad taste because it's actually talking about a hot blooded woman that they're obviously sleeping with. And she's actually not hot blooded, she's cold blooded because she is dead. So I thought that was just a wee bit. That's something I would say and probably be told I was inappropriate. So what I've wrote here is some episodes aren't to do with the main plot of the story, but in this episode it seems to be all about reconnecting with each other, finding each other and working together to find their father, find the demon that destroyed their family, kicking ass as a team, building a backstory. And the questions I had were who makes that decision, why them, who decides, and why these people, why this family. And again, we'll probably touch on most of these questions throughout this podcast and many other ones because it's the same kind of questions that happen. And it's like, Dean, man, I hate camping. Sam, me too. Sam, in the meantime, I'm driving, and then Fly By Night is playing at the end of this episode. And again, like I said, is that this is another episode. Yes, they are looking for their dad, but they're working together, save people and hunting, which they always say hunting things. Working together and hunting things goes and saving people, which is exactly what the Winchesters do best, like all hunters before them. And then we're going on to episode 3, which is Dead in the Water, which again is another episode that's actually nothing to do with the actual storyline again, but it's another one that is. Well, it's another one like the Wendigo was every 35 years. This was happening. Random people was like were being. They've not found the bodies, that's the thing, but they've been having funerals. So the recap was Dean and Sam talking about their father, talking about their family business, which is hunting, and it's actually what Jensen's beer company, or it's called the family business. All about in real life, all about brothers picking up from 2 years ago and working together. They may not always get along, but between both of them, they get the job done, basically. Makes you not want to step foot in the water, this one, which is true. I don't swim, don't like the water anyway. It starts off with a girl who's joking about with her brother, and then she jumps into a lake, which is in their house, down from their house. Then boom, it looks like she gets out the water. Well, not out the water. She puts her head up the water, and she's got a feeling. We've spoke about that before, where you think you're being watched, and something doesn't feel right, and then she's taken, and then all you see is bubbles. It starts off with Sam and Dean they're in a hotel discussing the new case, and again it says you find out there's a lot of dark secrets, isn't it, in little towns. I think everywhere's like that. Doesn't have to be in America. Every little town's got either a myth or some stupid shit that's happened, and in this place there's no different. It seems to be connected because the people that are all being taken are all related in some way, whether it's through marriage or friendship or the past.
Yes.
And then you find out that there's a wee boy called Lucas who hasn't spoken since his accident. His dad was taken, and you find out his dad's godfather to someone whose family members died in this. And then you find out that they were bullies to a wee boy,
Yes, they
and
were.
they drowned him, and they were like putting him under the water knowing he was scared, and they ended up killing him. And what they did was they didn't bury his body, they buried his bike and stuff.
Yes, they buried his bike.
And what the wee boy was doing, Lucas, which is the wee boy who doesn't speak now, because obviously he's going through a traumatic experience, Dean actually manages to build a bond with this wee boy because he's like telling him to be brave. Like my dad said, to be brave. Your dad would want to be brave because his dad's just passed away and things, to try to connect with him, and very sixth sense of him. So they find out where the wee boy's bike is through his drawings, which is weird. And then you find out that the wee boy, the spirit, is actually taking everybody from the people that took him from his mum. And as being a parent, for me, that was really sad, that episode, to think that he was just trying to, take from them what they took from his mum, because his mum never got closure about his disappearance and his death, which was really, really sad. And there is a few episodes, I think, in the probably complete season that will literally fuck you up, in my opinion, just because even though it's supernatural, if it happens to your family or whatever, then you're going to have someone who's been through a traumatic experience at some point with their family, and it's going to touch base with them. That's why the episodes can be a wee bit sad and a wee bit real.
Yes.
I'm not saying that I don't like that, but it can happen. So
Yeah, I mean,
the song playing in the hotel, sorry.
I was gonna say it just shows that they do touch on real aspects of things. Even though it is a supernatural show, they do touch on real aspects of stuff that, can happen to families and what the outcome of that could end up actually being.
Yep, and that's why it's so different. Doesn't just hit like like you just said there. It's everything, and that's why this show is different. So at the end, when song playing in the hotel while they wait is "What a Way to Go" by Black Toast, and again it's "What a Way to Go" because at the end of the episode, one of the main is the protagonist basically of the child's death sacrifices himself for his family so his grandson can live, who is Lucas, and it's like what a way to go. And then they use Moving On by Bad Company when they're obviously moving from town to town. After they've saved people and all that, they just literally move on to the next town, the next case. And it said, in this episode, the brothers work together to take down a spirit and they use their gut instincts to do so. An event, though, where there were some additional casualties, there won't be any more as the loose ends are dealt with, and Peter is now at rest. That was what the wee boy was called. Because the people responsible got what was coming to them. It's very old school, eye for an eye, as it should be. If you dish it out, why can't you take it? That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree. I think I think that the episode in itself really spoke for itself because you are gonna have I mean I guess the best way to put it, even though it was about a little boy getting his supernatural revenge on the family of somebody who killed him that he never got closure for. But I think all in all, I think that is the best way you can put karma in there.
Definitely. Karma is going to catch up to you eventually.
Yes,
Episode 4 is called The Phantom Traveller. Can you remember that
I
episode?
do remember that episode.
So the recap again, if you don't know, there is a huge recap in season 1. I think that's obviously just to keep repeating, the story so it sticks, which is a good thing. Because I do like a lot of repetitiveness being autistic. It's again, I enjoy it. I don't know about anybody else about the recaps, but I really do enjoy them because you've got the music, the way they do the effects and stuff, like the noise, it's like kind of thing, like supernatural. Absolutely love it because it kind of gives you a new episode, you know what I mean? But still recapping on what's happened previously. So the recap again started creating the atmosphere. This one is about a figure spirit seen when travelling on an aeroplane. We find out that Dean doesn't like to fly. He hates flying. He's scared of it. I'm exactly like that too. That's why I've rarely been on a plane. A voice is heard in the airport bathroom and a man is washing his hands. Then black smoke slash dust, as I said, gets into his system and his eyes turn black, which is basically you being possessed by a demon. This is what they're calling the Phantom Traveller. Causing havoc and death in a flight. No wonder I said I hate flying because it shows like this. The passenger who is possessed gets up and opens the door, which is a do not open door that's not supposed to be open or be able to open, and that's what they talk about, that it wasn't even a human that actually did it because of the pressure and stuff with the plane being in the air. So they go and they interview some survivors. One's in a mental health facility and he described the black-eyed demon, and he was crazy paranoid because his mum was saying that she put him in there because he's mental, and they play the song Paranoid by Black Sabbath, which I thought was hilarious. Poor guy suffering from severe paranoia since seeing a demon literally try and kill everybody on a plane he was just on. So they are passing as Homeland Security agents, and you will notice this throughout Supernatural that they fake, which is illegal,
Horribly.
faking government agents of any sort or police officers or anything like that.
Don't do this at home, kids.
Exactly. We're not giving you the tools to do this. This is already done. This is in the past. But Sam won't die though. This is what I kept saying. Is like they're on the plane. Sam couldn't die though, and we find this out later on because of destiny. So they should have just sent Sam up on the plane himself. To be honest, Sam
Yeah.
continues to. So he's exercising the plane, and the pilot, because the pilot has been possessed. And I said, Dean looks like he soiled himself though, because I would have, because he literally shits it, man.
No, I can
He's
guarantee
the
he
facial
probably
expression he
did.
pulls between being on a plane and having to exercise a demon being on a plane and it's one of your fears. You don't really give a fuck about the demon. You're just trying to get the fuck off the plane, and you can't. So the guy who's something to do with it, he's not a pilot, but he's something to do with the aeronautics, knew the dad, remember, because they rescued him from a poltergeist years ago, and his dad just sends the coordinates to them, as creepy as that is, and they find out that their father's voicemail is telling people to contact Dean, which means he's okay. That would be an inclination that the dad has changed it recently, since they always listen to the voicemail and it's changed, and that's how he knew to call Dean rather than, reach out to John.
Yeah.
So that was another inclination that they could have said, all right, Dad's okay. Sam could have fucked off home, but he's not going to fuck off home now because obviously what happened to Jess. So there wasn't really anything that was more again of them working together, pushing each other's boundaries, but putting Dean on a plane. He's like Mr. T of Supernatural.
Yes.
So we have a lore type episode next, which is called Bloody
Love it.
Mary. And we all know Bloody Mary kind of reminds me of seeing Candyman in the mirror, basically.
Yes. Yes.
Again, talking about hunting and their father's disappearance in the recap. The reassurance of you know we are going to find Dad. They both know no matter what that they'll find him and they will be reunited, and then they'll be able to find the demon responsible for their mother and Jess's death, because that's pretty much what season 1 and what the whole show is about, really, isn't it? This episode is again nothing to do with the main story, but the urban legend that is called Bloody Mary, the good all reciting the name Bloody Mary into the mirror. It's kind of like Beetlejuice and the Candyman. You know the rules. Why do I feel like Rick Astley? You know the rules, and so do I. It starts with the little girls at a sleepover saying creepy shit like wee girls say. Nothing says creepy like a wee girl doing something stupid. So they decide to do the Bloody Mary thing. But the Bloody Mary didn't affect the kids. It seems they found out Bloody Mary in this instance is actually going after people who have done something in their past, like a death. Like the father is killed because we find out is that the mother commits S, but it's actually not been S, it's been M. We're using S and M, but that sounds weird. The letters S and the letter
Okay.
M. I'll clear that up and clarify. Yes, that went a bit dark really quickly
Is
there.
that how we're going on this
And,
episode, huh? We're doing a little S&M.
yeah, exactly. Can't have S without M. What can I say?
This is true.
So, anyway, Bloody Mary has been a woman who was killed by someone, we find out. She's killed by her lover, married lover, and her eyes were removed. And it happened in front of a mirror. So, Mary is coming back and she is taking people who have done things like someone did a hit and run and they were killed. And again, the father was killed. And also, is it the girl who survives it? You find out that she had like a kind of an abusive ex that said that he was going to take his own life, and she said, "We'll do it." And some
Yes.
people have said that in the past. I mean, it's again something that's happened in real life. So again, she felt really guilty. And you know what they say in it? They are off to Ohio. And I was peeing myself when because obviously that's where you're from. I was like,
I love
so
it.
what a stupid thing. So Sam tries to say to the girl though, doesn't he? He says to her like, you know, you can't be guilty for what he was going to do, because if he was going to do it, he probably would have done it anyway, whether she said that or not, because it was kind of like a control thing. They do destroy Bloody Mary by destroying her mirror and then putting her in another mirror so they can destroy it. She's destroyed by her kind of guilt, because that's what the kind of show, isn't it? The when Bloody Mary kind of shows you like what you're thinking and your guilt, and then she ends up getting
Yep, she ends up getting killed
they
because
destroy it,
she is guilty of, well, killing.
doing wrong. Yeah, killing people. Yeah, exactly. She's basically not any better than the people in the episode. The song that leads them out is Laugh, I Nearly Died by the Rolling Stones. And Sam sees Jess at the side of the road because that's the love of his life and he'll never stop thinking about her. Dean asks about the secret. And Sam says, I love you, you're my brother, but this is a secret I'm keeping, basically. So he's like, nah, I'm keeping this from you, mate. And the song is about loss and remember the ones that you've lost by saying goodbye. Because again, he didn't get to say goodbye to Jeff. So that's what that song was about, and clearing up all that. The next one is called Skin. You remember that one about the shapeshifter?
Yes.
Because there's been a couple of episodes about shapeshifters, but not in season 1. So the recap is all about finding John, daddy douchebag, as you'll hear me calling him constantly, and finding Jessica's killer. Episode starts and a woman is gagged and tied to a chair, kinky,
All right.
bloody handprints on the wall. Yeah, exactly. And you see a figure holding a funky blade. And again, she could be into it. She might not, because as I said in my description, she didn't really look like she was resisting or fighting. So I just thought it was a sex game gone wrong. So he picked the wrong person to maim. There's an email from a woman that Sam knew from college, and her brother is being framed for the murder of his girlfriend. So they go, even though Dean tells him not to, but he says he's doing it anyway. And this is what we mean about, you know, them rubbing off against each other, isn't it?
Yep.
Like, we're not doing that, we're fucking doing it. Just deal with it. So they go to this town and they're trying to dumbass. They say they're police officers, and they go into the crime scene, and she tells her lawyer that they went into a crime scene. If you're trying to figure stuff out on your own to protect your family, you wouldn't be telling your lawyer anything. She did the dumbass again. She's blonde, dumbass blonde,
Hey.
so-called pretty. Sorry, I know you're blonde. We spoke about that before, that the dumb blonde girl does dumb blonde stuff and she always gets herself into dumb blonde
This is
trouble. We've spoke
this is
about this. I
true.
don't know exactly. Exactly. So this is one of the things I really. This is not an episode I really like, but the scene that I'm about to describe is see where they're actually the shapeshifters changing from one identity to Dean's identity. Remember, it actually shows you him doing it.
Yes.
And this show was out years ago, and the special effects were cracking for this. It was up close, and you see his body like totally contorting, his teeth falling out, and everything. And the song it's playing is "Hey Man, Nice Shot" by Filter. Fucking love that song, brilliant song. But it was so dark. It was in a sewer, and it's just I love that scene. It's one of the ones I always remember because the song is just like the start of it, where it starts off gritty and dark and raunchy. It is because
Very.
the person's like, you know, the music's sleazy as well. So again, that song's used in a lot of sleazy things in the 2000s. So it's a good song. If you haven't heard the Filter, go check them out even. So again, it's horrific for it. You know, I mean, that's a TV show. And that's probably one of the most horrific scenes. I don't think the one with the, you know, the fire and the death is as horrific as that. Seeing the
No.
contortion and someone moving and the skin falling off and all that carry on. Well, this shapeshifter, I think he hates women. That's why he goes after women, because he's maybe not noticed. He's human, but he's different and he talks about it. Turns into Dean, and that's what shows you at the start of the episode. They start from like the middle of the episode, but it shows you at the start, remember? It's just Dean with a knife, and the police are there, or the FBI or whatever's there, and he jumps out the window. And they think Dean's like this crazy murderer. And the song playing is All Right Now by Free, which I thought was again not the song, it's the free, you know, because he's free because he's got away because, you know, Dean's not a shapeshifter and he didn't kill all those women
Yeah.
because that's what he's doing. He's taking the identity of the partner and going back in a trust and then killing them type thing. And it said, well, Dean says he's sorry he couldn't be Joe, that Sam couldn't be Joe College anymore. And he said he didn't fit in it there and he probably wouldn't fit in now. So they both admitted that he regrets taking him out of college, but Sam said he didn't fit in anyway. So it was like he was waiting for someone, whether it was his dad or Dean, to come rescue him or take him away anyway. That was the kind of ending of that episode. That he realised he's supposed to be a hunter. He wasn't supposed to be in that life, even though he tried so hard.
Yeah, he that episode he definitely did realize that hunting was
That
his
was never his
life
life
and college was never in
mm-hmm.
the books form,
plan.
no pun intended. But the nice thing about it too is the fact that he did realize that he did have the brains for college, but he also knew where his heart
Yes.
was. And I think in my opinion at least, that definitely helped him and Dean a lot throughout all the seasons.
Yes, it's because he's lived a different life. He's lived the childhood they had wasn't a childhood. We've again kind of touched on that, but also like Dean has said in episodes that Dad prepared us for this. That's why we're different, and that's why we can't fit into their world because we're not supposed to be in that world. If Mary was alive, I have no doubt that they probably may have not been hunters. They might have not. They might have been. You never know. But I don't think it would have been to that extent because she walked away. It
Yeah,
seems the way they described
I
it.
definitely
She walked
think
away
if
from that life to be a mother.
yeah, I definitely think if Mary was still alive, I have a feeling Dean probably would have still followed in the footsteps of John. But I think Sam would have probably actually fully taken a complete another direction, but still having his foot somewhat in the door of being a hunter. Because I mean, let's face it, you can't outrun that, especially when a boy needs his father. So he's
Yes,
gonna want to. Dean, obviously, he wanted to do everything to impress his father. He was the good little soldier. He wanted to be there and do things that made his dad proud. Sam was the same, but he was opposite because he was always the one that wanted to make his mother proud, but still be in the eyes of his father. So I think if their mother was still alive, he would have been on a completely different path. But at
yep.
the same time, I think he still would have helped out from time to time. It wouldn't have been all the
But they
time.
wouldn't be as close.
Yeah.
That's the thing. because he's more intellectual, but he's a bit of a dumbass. Like I said to you before, is like I'm kind of like Dean, where it sounds like I'm stupid sometimes, just that I act that way. But obviously, I have different skills for different things. Like yourself, you'll probably have stronger things that you're better at than I am, and that's kind of like what those two are like.
Yes. Leave Moose alone, all right?
I'm not. Right, for people listening, because I actually don't like Dean like that. So, which is weird. Everybody thinks I do. It's not. I'm actually I'm more likely to have. It's again another Crawley thing. I just think it's because he's a wee bit of a. He's not in it now, obviously, but I just prefer Crawley. I think he's brilliant.
Oh, I thought
Bobby of
I
all
think he
things.
definitely played the perfect King of Hell. Don't know
But
why.
it's weird. It's like if everyone's team Dean, I'm sitting going, I don't know. There's something about Bobby, and folk are like, what? What? Wait, how? Seriously? I'm just like, I don't know. There's just something about Bobby, man, because he's intelligent and he's smart
And he's a
and
jackass.
he's really good with his guns, and he's a badass, and he takes no shit. And I was like, that's just pretty much what I like. I was like, so it's Bobby of all things. So yeah, it's that weird bit of thing. Bobby is in season 1, and we will, and he actually, what one? Yeah, he was in one with Meg, but we're going on to Hookman next. Again, it's more of a, it's not like I Know What You Did Last Summer, totally different. Again, main story, I keep calling it a journey because it is a journey of discovery about themselves on their own and as brothers working together to get to where they need to be to find their father. The continuity of the storyline is much more complex when you watch it over and over again because you see the brothers bonding in each episode, even though they are different people and different personalities. They both want what is best for them, each other, their father, and the greater good. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, that's definitely what they're trying for. Is they may be different, but they definitely are trying to do things for the greater good. I think Sam sees it more than Dean does because I think Dean right now, Dean is
Dean,
more.
all right,
I was
all right,
I was
Dan.
combining Sam and Dean there.
Oh, I know, I thought that.
I think Dean right now is more focused on finding their father than he is worried about the greater good of anything, really.
Yeah,
And
because
then,
that's his dad,
yeah,
and that's
and then
all they've got
you
left.
got Sam, who is,
Not Dan.
yes, not Dan, who is in he's like on that tightrope. He wants to find their father, but he's also wanting to protect the people that he's seeing in trouble. So.
Exactly. The Hookman starts off with being it's a sorority. Again, you've got I'm going to say a sex positive, that's what they call it these days, sorority sister, and one that they're trying to pass off as frigid because she's religious. What the hell was that? Are you
No, I
laughing?
was getting a little beatbox in there. I mean, it was,
Oh
I
my
mean,
god, I literally thought you were having a stroke there, seriously? What the fuck?
I mean, you said sex positive. I had to get a little rave.
Well, that's the way. What have you done with Leonard? Bring him back. Do we need an old priest and a young priest?
No, no.
Okay.
My
So
mind went in
they start off a
30,000 different
sorority.
directions when you said that.
Well, I'm glad I can do that to you. You will get used to this.
I am
You
used
will.
to it.
Well, at least someone is. So it's basically a girl who's very religious and she's going on a date. Or is it a date because he takes her to some place in a car, a dark, dingy place because he's trying to get ahead, basically, literally.
Literally.
With exactly. Boom boom. So exactly. So they're in the car as they are, and they start to hear a scratching noise on the roof. Where have we heard that before? Then he gets out the car, dumbass. Then, as you can imagine, what happens to him? He gets it. She gets away. It's basically a whole episode of not even teenagers, but between 18 and 21 in it. University or college in the States.
Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, depending, but yeah.
1882. That's basically that's what it is the whole episode. People being taken out by doing things that are fun, like we talked about in the last podcast, death by snoo snoo. Basically, that's pretty much what's going on. So you can imagine there's a pattern, a hook man taking out people who are doing fun things. that's got nothing to fucking do with him, to be honest.
And
Keep
for
to yourself. Is like, if you're into watching young people getting it on, each to their own with your voyeur and all that.
perv,
But hey, well, no, we can't do that. We got to be positive here. We're in the 20th.
my
Someone might
bad,
cancel us for being like that. You never
my
know.
bad.
My bad, exactly. So in this episode, the hunt down who is the Hookman killer, a random spirit that's killing young adults. What is with it? Why and how can they kill it? Why is it attacking these people and why is it now? And again, mutilated bodies by this Hookman. You find out that the girl who's not sex positive is actually a preacher's daughter. And the preacher's daughter's the preacher's the dad who is the preacher, his church is basically where this Hookman actually was a preacher himself, a man of faith.
Yes.
They go to the library and they find out that a few people have 1932 a clergyman was sentenced to death, I think, for killing a bunch of people, and so again a man of faith was in 1967. So that's 35 years later. Again, another 35 years later case. The guy who they're saying is going about doing these they're maiming people, called Jacob Carnes, and he was executed for killing Lady of the Night type people because in his town there was all these immoral things happening. So he took it upon himself to be judge, jury, and executioner. And it seems to be that this is what this spirit does. If something is obviously immoral, takes it upon himself to protect his town, even though he is a spirit and etc. So we find out that he put remember he actually writes on the wall with a hook, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light?" And then it's a symbol. We find out that symbol was part of his parish, and it's also part of her father's parish, and that's like the connection. That's the connection between them. The fact that they're men of faith. But the man of faith is actually having an affair with a married woman.
Yes.
And that's what the daughter said. How can he preach to me about what's right and what's wrong when he's actually committing an immoral sin right now? And then her dad is attacked. So they've attacked her friend, people around her, and then her dad is attacked. And they find out that he was in an unmarked grave. Dean puts salt on him, sets him on fire, all the holy water, etc. And they think that's it. Is that it? No,
Absolutely not. Why would it be?
because exactly. So they think it's the hook, and that's where you think it's the hook, because it usually is the actual possessed thing. Apparently, when the guy was executed, all his stuff was taken to his parish, which is obviously where the girl lives with her dad, who's the preacher, and they find the hook and they burn it. And does that do it?
Absolutely not. Why would
No,
it?
no, exactly. Like that would be too much. That'd be fucking too easy. And then you find out that the girl has got a necklace on, and it's a heirloom of the church, but it's actually something to do with Jacob Carnes, which is the hook man killer. And he goes, "Is it silver?" Yes. So they basically throw it in the fire, and then he disappears. The song that plays in that episode made me laugh because it's a cheesy cock rock band called Quiet Riot, and I like cock rock, or hair metal, sorry, cock rock hair metal. The song playing is called "Bang Your Head" by
Bang
Quiet
your
Riot, and it
head.
was yes, but it's the fact that remember because he comes after them at the start,
Yes.
and the guy's basically banging his head. It's hilarious. Both times they dished out this sort of crime and preached about these sorts of immortalities, and then the killings weren't them. That's what it was saying, that it was all to do with the sharp implement that was a hook. That's what that episode was about. It was about someone taking their own basically path of righteousness, would you not say? And taking the law into their own hands, which is a shame because a lot of shit happens because of religion, and it's usually that kind of shit in real life as well. So that was another reflection on what happens in real life.
And just
Again, not another episode, family and that. It's just a random episode.
yeah, that's a lot of season one was that way episodes, but
They had to kind of pack it out, didn't
they
they?
did.
They had to pack it out.
But I mean, a lot of times with first seasons of TV series, they're usually
Sometimes you
shorter
only
than
get
the
one
rest.
season.
Yeah, so they kind of basically builds to the
But you used to be,
builds you would like build.
remember it used to be 20, yeah, but it used to be one season used to be like between 22 and 24 episodes, remember? That was, and now it's not.
Yeah, no, you go on Netflix now, you can sit there and
Which is
get like
actually a good thing.
6 episodes, 8 episodes, 10 episodes per season on a
Hmm.
Netflix series, and it's like, why? I mean, granted,
But sometimes that's good. Sometimes that
yeah,
is
but
good
sometimes I feel like they
because
lose a
they don't
lot.
fuck about.
Uh,
Yeah, especially if it's a big
yeah,
story.
like take Lucifer for example. I know that's a show that you and I both like. I think
Yeah,
each of their seasons was I think only 10 episodes.
it was worth it
It
though.
was
Although I love May.
uh,
I love May. She's my favorite, and that's why one of my dogs is named after her.
I would I'd love to see them do a seventh season, but we know that's not going to happen, which is depressing. But anyways,
Because they tied it up.
they did.
We're on episode 8.
But before we get into the next episode, let me just say one for any of you, and don't take this the wrong way, I'm not being disrespectful, but for any of you uncultured swine throughout episode 7 when Darcy did say the word snoo snoo and you do not know what that is. It is sex. Point blank and simple.
And it's also from Futurama.
That too. God, I missed that. So
So about the
I need to
Amazonian.
start watching it again.
You missed that.
I know
Snooze.
I need
Big
I
Amazonian
need to start
woman
watching it
dragon.
again because I've stopped for a while and I don't know why. But no, yes. So for any
I thought I was being nice by calling it that,
you were, but there are a lot of
and I like
uncultured
it.
people out there that have no idea what it means, especially if you're talking to someone in America that has no idea at all, and then you're sitting there going, well, so, but anyways,
We just wanted to clarify that and clear that up
yes,
for
just
you.
wanted to clarify it. Make sure you guys know. All right, now back to our lovely program.
Yes. Shall we continue?
Shall we shall.
There was a recap. The same journey. It says noise, but it's boys. I'm sorry for the typos. No, I really am. I type fast when I'm passionate about shit. The boys in their hunt for their father. They're binding, whatever. Bonding. That should be binding.
They're fonder,
Oh,
they're binding,
man.
bonding. I mean, it's kind of the same
That's
thing. You
fine.
know, you need to have a bond to
Same
have a
thing.
bind, or a bind to have a.
Well, whatever. So, this episode is actually about what the racial stereotypical. Basically, it's about what happened to indigenous people of the land that's been built on
Oh, I'm
land
American.
that
I
was
will be
taken from the
point blank and
indigenous
happy to say
people,
it.
and they're now building on it. And there was a curse, basically, which we'll find out about. Basically, here it said it's a punishment for the people of generations in the future who tarnish the memory, whether they're innocently doing it or not. They're destroying a legacy. Because this type of instance has been used in many shows. And it's a warning to people who have done wrong to the natives of the land, and they'll pay the price by disease and famine, to name a few, but in this case, it's locusts and bugs that will rain down on anyone who steps foot onto the sacred land and their heritage, and will have to pay the consequences, because there's consequences for the actions that have happened previously. Apparently, for 6 days and 6 nights, basically, how's it you describe the other people versus the indigenous people? I don't want to offend people since it happened in America, so like us versus them.
I mean, if you want to do in the best, nicest way possible, you could just say intruders.
Okay,
But I
so
mean,
the intruders came for six. They came in for intruders came for 6 days, and they arred and pillaged until and killed until there was no one left, so they could just come in and take what was not theirs. And the chief of the village spoke to the sky and said, basically, comes to this land, basically will have to deal with the consequences of the past. And that's what happens. People start being killed randomly by bugs, by random crap, like people falling into like ditches and stuff, wasn't it? And just randomly being killed.
yeah,
It just didn't make any sense. Again, it's been used in X-Files and God knows what as well. So it's not like an original concept. It's been used in many different TV shows. Goes, lesson here is don't fuck with people. You never know what they'll bring on you and your family in your future. What goes around comes around. One of those episodes again. Sam's reliving shit what shit he said to his father, and Dean says, "Don't worry, you'll apologise, then you'll get back to being each other's throats, and then you'll laugh." Again, each episode, Sam realises that their father's ways may have been wrong to some, but he was trying to do the right thing by them, to protect them, raise them, and teach them to be brave and how to handle themselves and how to overcome things, supernatural or not. You don't have to forgive him, you don't have to forget, but you can move on and start again when you're ready. Song being played as they leave is "No One Like You" by the Scorpions, and
Great
again,
song.
"No One Like You" is the lyrics in the song. Goes again, "No one like you," referring to the boys and how they see each other. I think as they are both very different but yet so alike, but they don't know anyone else like them, but they have each other. And that's what I took from that episode. So this was this was the first episode that took me 16 pages. Remember that?
Yes.
16 pages. Because it's a full in-depth thing, and that's how we ended up saying we've got to do this, basically, isn't it?
Yep, we got to do it by the season, not the
Season, not by
episodes, because I mean, granted, this is going to be a long episode to begin with, so if you guys are still listening up until this point, we are going to be heading into episode 9 here shortly, and we are glad you guys have stuck around.
You should know it's going to be the full season.
Yes.
There's going to be a breakdown. Kind of ties up a lot of things that you may have not known if you've not watched the show. And if you have watched the show, then you know the journey home is basically they're returning to Lawrence, where their mother was killed and where pretty much their life was turned upside down, and they became the people they are today.
Yes, and if you guys have not watched this show, where have you guys been hiding? Um, where have you
Exactly.
guys been
A river.
living? Are you guys now listening from your phones and listening to this podcast from your phones, and you guys just don't have Netflix? I'd advise to get Netflix. um,
It's not Netflix in the UK though.
uh,
We don't
okay,
have it
well,
on Netflix in the
so
UK. It's not in America.
yeah,
Because when you keep saying Netflix, I was like, what?
okay, for my American people, watch it.
Your people.
For the lovely
Are you their
people,
leader?
no, I couldn't be their leader, because do you know how many people would probably hate me within the very first minute? Everybody.
And I would come, I'd be like, "Shh." No, they would not. I'd be like, no.
But and for
Listen.
the lovely people of the UK, Darcy, I'm pretty sure can tell you where to find it.
I don't think it's on any streaming service here.
Really?
I actually have them all.
Oh, wow. But no,
You need to get on that.
yes.
You need to get on.
This
So,
episode did have a lot of points that not only did, again, the number one thing you'll see that is going on with season 1 is the brothers reconnecting, the brothers building trust between each other, and them building themselves as a team. But this episode in particular was more about finding themselves in a way.
them learning about the things that they weren't
Yes.
old enough to know then, and they are now. That's pretty much what this is, because they are going back to their childhood home that they left, that their mother was killed in. Which is weird that the house is still the way it is, even though apparently it went up in flames.
Yes.
I know you can rebuild, but you know what I mean. So, we're returning home, where it all began, how the story starts, and how the series has revolved around. So, one night in 1984 in Lawrence, Kansas, a fire broke out which had taken the life of Mary Winchester, which is the wife of John and the mother to Dean and Sam. Azazel is the demon's name, the one with the yellow eyes, the one who changed Sam Winchester's future and the whole family for that matter. Their lives will never be the same again after that night. A new family, sorry, had moved into the home, but nothing had happened over the years. Missouri psychic in Lawrence, which we'll learn about her in a wee second, that John frequently visited after the death of his late wife, kept an eye on the property just to make sure that nothing happened. Why? Well, we'll find out why. Dean is phoning his dad because of what's been happening to tell him that they're going back. And what he says is, "Dad, I know I've left you messages before. I don't know if you get them, but I'm in Lawrence with Sam, and there's something in our old house. I don't know if it's the thing that killed Mom, but I don't know what to do. So whatever you do, just get here." That was him basically saying, "Dad, I'm scared. I need to go back to somewhere that I don't want to remember, but I have to go because this could happen again, and I don't want to do it alone." Well, that's what I got from that. Do you agree?
I do agree.
It was him. It was referring back to like a child
Yeah, he
wanting his
was
dad.
he was definitely um reliving a childhood uh fear and he didn't want to do it
The
alone.
questions asked roundabout this time is why his son, why his family? Why did he have to lose his wife and the mother of his children? Pushing them away and not having a relationship with them like a normal father or parent? Was this John's way of grieving? Was this the only way he could detach himself from his grief, to be absent, to be distant? Is this how he coped with Mary's unusual death? Hunting, is it a gift or a burden? And this was just at the start of the episode. I said, Dean says he's unable to remember that night, yet you see a flashback that he does remember, referring to the fact that he could potentially have PTSD because he was 5.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean when this kicked off? He was 5. And he was just a wee baby. He was 6 months. That you should find out. Who knows? Who knows? He still stays in the hunter lifestyle. Is it because he knows no other life and he's made it for this, and he was born for this, which we've spoke about? Is this protection or as a hunter? Is this for protection? Sorry, or as a hunter? If John hadn't been a hunter and this was another life, would he have had all this to deal with? If you know it didn't happen. Do you think that Dean has something similar to what I suffer from something that's called fight or flight. A lot of people who have had it's not really I would call it traumatic experience. It's called life. The shit happens. That's how I see it. Before I was diagnosed with autism, that's what my therapist was saying. I had fight or flight. That your brain, for all the good things that have happened, there's been more bad things. So therefore, your brain rewrites everything. So you don't remember any good memories, and you don't really remember the bad ones unless you're triggered by something. Like a sound, a noise, a dream, and you can't process it. It gets all processed the same way, and that's the way I feel that Dean is processing. He can't remember, but he can remember because he just doesn't want to remember because it's not a nice feeling. So therefore, he just gets on with it. That's pretty much how I seen it. What do you think? He could have some sort of
Yeah, I
PTSD or fight
mean,
or flight.
he's always been kind of very secluded about that night. He's never really, unlike Sam, to where he's talked about it,
Doesn't want to
and
talk about it.
even Sam was way too young to even remember. But he's even, I think, in a way, has come to terms with. But Dean, I think, blocks it out for a reason because he always had to be there to help Sam because he was the older brother.
Yep, it's always about Sam. So we're setting the scene of possessed toys now. That's never a good thing, possessed toys. We see that in any sort of movie or show or book or game. So there's a wind up monkey of all things. Monkeys are evil. And it's bashing cymbals. And this randomly starts playing while there's a handyman in the kitchen of the old Winchester house. And guess what the dumbass does? The one thing you don't do in a kitchen and a sink in America is stick your hand down the fucking drain because doesn't it have like a garbage disposal usually down
Yeah.
them? Which is literally you're going to lose your hand. And it was the music. I was like, oh, you're not going to be stupid enough. Even if you switch it off at the wall, come on, it's supernatural. Don't stick your hand down it. You'd throw something down at first, wouldn't you? Just to double check that it was off to test it. So it says here, well, it doesn't. Was Anne the man's hand ends up, for the lack of a better term, fucked. Heard trauma, and well, I bet that poltergeist vengeful spirit are pissing himself laughing at the dumbass human meat sack that thought it was a good idea to stick his hand down a dangerous appliance. I was shaking my head as he was doing it, even though I knew, because I've seen it while watching it. Like, dumbass. And then as it happened, the toy starts back up again, like it's mocking him. Do you not think it was mocking him? Like, because they obviously can't communicate because they're spirit, they used the toy to rip the piss out of the fact that he hurt himself. Where is your brain, man? Lol. That's what I wrote. I shouldn't laugh, but how in the hell would you think it was okay to do it though? Let us know in the comments below. Would you stick your hand down a garbage disposal even if the power was off to it because it's a supernatural, event? No, you fucking wouldn't.
People don't share those
No, you
those
wouldn't.
same things with us.
But they should. It's common sense. So this episode touches on psychics. Are you a yay or a nay for psychic?
Uh,
The psychic is called Missouri. I think there's people who can not are psychic, but they kind of can read you, and that's why I'm really, really not jealous of. I can't read people because I'm autistic, so I don't know if you're being nice or just being a dick, or you have ulterior motives.
yeah, I'm kind of like 50-50 on psychics because I can read people. I can read people very well. I would consider myself like an empath, but if I'm that's why I said I'm 50-50.
I'm probably the same thing as well, to a degree, because when I do tarot, it's actually easier for autistic people to actually do tarot because we can't read you. We're just going by our feelings towards the cards and what they mean. And that's why autistic individuals are actually very good at reading tarot. And that's one of the things that I use to actually, especially now, to actually read situations is by doing that. So there's another wee information there. Our creative, sorry, I've literally skipped a bit. It's just because of the way Word does it. So right, they go to Missouri's place and she tells him not to put his feet on the table. Do you remember that? She's actually thinking
Yes.
about. She's actually in his head, and she goes, "I know you were going to do it," and he's looking at her going, "The fuck." And do you know what I mean? He's like, I didn't even do it. And she goes, "Well, I knew you were going to do it." And then she says that he trips the piss and says that he's like dumb and stuff. It's hilarious. Do you think she resents her gift because that's the way they're saying, like, she's sometimes got to give people bad news, but sometimes she doesn't give them the worst news, but she doesn't give them the
Yeah.
best news either about it. She's trying to be nice, whereas most psychics would just tell you, or were trying to like get more money out of you, basically. She admits that nothing in the house has happened until recently, and they don't know why. We'll visit the family that's in the house because, well, shit's happening. And she wants to put totems, which are like little bags that have like magical properties that would banish anything that was in it. And what really made me laugh and made me think that I was more like Dean than anything else is the fact that he smells the contents, then he licks it. Would you do it? I would, but that's just me. If it smelt nice, I would probably try and eat it, but that's just again me. Would you eat or try and lick? His facial expressions are great though with Missouri because he's thinking and she's just like, I just said it. It's just really, really funny. But she's like saying something, don't do it. Is it over? It never is. Also, Sam's vision hasn't happened. Sorry, hasn't happened. Did they prevent it? What do you think? Because that's another thing. Sam gets a vision, remember, in his dream as well about this at the start. Because remember, he starts to see things
Yeah, he
just out the
definitely
fucking
did.
blue now. It's not just a feeling, he's seeing things now. And my response to that was, did they fuck? It isn't over, and the lesson of the episode hasn't been learned or known yet. So let's carry on, shall we? So, a little bit of fun anecdote. How many Chevy Impalas did they go through in the show? A69, B42, or C67? Let us know in the comments below. So when the totem bags don't work, they get the family out the house and they try and exercise everything out, remember? As well. And then they think they've got it, but they haven't. Because that's halfway through the episode. This episode felt like it lasted ages though because they were trying to push so much into the episode because they had backstory, present, future, whatever. When they getting the kids out the house again, I noticed that it was Sam picking up the wee girl the wee boy and saying to the wee girl, "Take your brother outside." It's exactly what Dean was told by their dad with him when he was a baby. Like the past was reliving through he wouldn't have remembered that, but again that was another thing to show you, he thought, you need to take your brother outside, go to your mother basically. So when they're in the house and they're trying to get rid of the spirit, it's the spirit that wraps the cord round his neck, and I was laughing, but shouldn't be laughing at that, but I was laughing because of a whole different reason. Having it, I was like David Carradine, but again, not for this episode. They see a figure and they think it's someone like an evil spirit, but then Sam realizes it's not. It's actually his mom, because this was his mother's house, their family home. She's a protector of them and she's protector of that house. And that she's dead and her spirit is there now. It's there for a reason, to protect that family and protect her boys because they've came back. So she's the protector and the mother. And again, that's a fact about how mothers are protecting their young. They'll do anything. And that's what this episode was all about, basically. Her protecting her kids. And he sees his mum for like the first time, basically, since he's been a baby, because he wouldn't have. And she's the exact same. She's not changed any, which I thought was really nice that he got to see his mum, though. Did you not? Even though it was her spirit?
I kind of had a feeling, a little inkling, that it was somebody from
Yeah,
their
but it was
past.
nice that they did that because, they never had any pictures, but they do get pictures at the end of this episode, though, because of lots of their stuff in the house, which again I don't get because the house went in fucking fire.
That was Mama protecting it all.
So there's that little plot hole right there. Oh, right, okay. Out of her busy schedule of
Absolutely.
being dead, she's going to protect those photographs. Do you feel like Dean regrets leaving Sam? Sorry, leaving like Sam did. Do you think Dean would have liked to leave?
Um,
That's what I said here. Do you think Dean would have left it if Sam didn't, when Sam was old enough to take care of himself? Being responsible isn't for everyone. Fact. Does Dean hold resentment towards Sam? I sometimes see it look like he had an easier life than him. His dad was much harder than him on him. It's like, does Dean blame Sam? Does Dean blame John? And does Dean blame Mary? In future episodes, I promise no spoilers. So, in real life, how would this be tackled and resolved? The jealousy, rage, PTSD, resentment, loss, anger question. At the end of the episode, John is there. He's not interfering. He's observing, protecting his boys, but he's not encroaching on them. He's on the outside looking in. A father's love is unbreakable.
I can agree
What
to
do you
that.
think?
But I also feel as if, even though he wasn't stepping in, he was only observing. I do have a feeling there was part of him that couldn't step in.
Yes, it's his grief because his recollection of those nights, that night is different because he was the adult, so he can remember it. Dean can only remember parts, and probably because of his being a child, it's different the way his brain processed it, and then everything else afterwards, the way his dad changed. But Sam wouldn't have known how his dad was before. That's the thing as well, because he was a baby. Episode 10, we have Asylum. In continuation of the last episode, John cannot talk to the boys until he knows the truth, apparently. Doesn't he know the damage he has already caused by abandoning the boys so much in their life they could find out together as a family? Do you want to slap some sense into John?
Absolutely.
Yes. How about you? I always want to slap him, that's the thing. Know the damage that he's caused. Could Mary have discussed her past with John when they started their family? And it's a good recap Supernatural special. Don't you just love how the writers bring it even from the start to engage with their audience? To suck you in from the title screen, bam, it's a recap. And I don't know about you, it really does give me the chills, goosebumps, even to know a new episode is about to start. The suspense is real, that's for sure. And they've managed to capture this since the show started. Well done. I think
Definitely
you
can
agree there,
agree.
don't you? Sam says, what about filing a missing persons report? And Dean says his dad wouldn't have wanted it because he wouldn't want to draw attention to him being missing because you never know
True.
who's watching. Fly up on other folks' radar or other demons' radar. The boys are trying to figure out where he could be, and then the phone rings. Their father has text coordinates again, which he has done before, showing that he's alive. Dean says he asks his brother, who's the hotter sidekick? Patricia Arquette, Jennifer Love Hewitt, or you? I fucking love Dean. It's some of the shit he comes out with is
I
brilliant.
mean, Sam all the
Dean's
way. Come
waiting
on now.
outside. Sorry, they. Well,
Again, Jennifer Love
none
Hewitt
of
does
them.
have some thick thighs, so. But I'm still going with Sam. No,
Does Sam
Sam's
have thick
just
thighs?
Sam, and nothing more you need to say about Sam.
So this episode is basically another one that is a small town lore, isn't it? About like shit that's happened in an asylum. But it's actually not really lore because it was if you've ever seen House on Haunted Hill, which is a film that I'm actually surprised that we haven't actually spoke about. There's one and there's also a remake. The remake is actually pretty good and it's very good soundtrack, but we'll get on to that another time because I'll be here all day. I love that movie. So the asylum basically a lot of shit happened again with mental health, things like that. It was all about experimental for a really long time and experimenting on patients. But this asylum didn't just have regular patients with mental health problems that had like criminally insane. So the doctor that was in charge was doing his own experiments with lobotomies, and it was not just electric therapy and stuff, it was loads of crazy experimental stuff he created himself because he kept a journal because Dean found it. People who go into it like kids, inquisitive and wanting to be, oh, I've been in the asylum, were going in and they're not coming out, or they're coming out different because they are literally getting messed up when they go into the place. Now, the place didn't really have much going on, just randomly stuff was happening. And then it's just like they were saying that something had happened within the building. They find out that the doctor has a relative, wasn't it? They find out it's his son, it's actually a psychiatrist now. And Sam goes to see him because he has to go and say he's got like issues, but we know the boys have issues anyway. So I don't think they realise they've got issues, but they do. So Dean's waiting outside the therapist's office and he complained that the first, because Sam had been in there for ages, and my note on that was, could Dean have ADHD because he doesn't like waiting, he gets really super angsty and he always ends up doing something stupid because he's been left unattended because the other adult is not present, and that goes for both of us even though we are adults, because I've actually asked for an adult supervision in our podcast. So it's vengeful spirits they think that are roaming around, and now we find out that it's actually a warning. They're actually trying to warn everybody coming into the place that the vengeful spirit is actually the doctor. The doctor, what happened was there was a riot, wasn't there, in the hospital, and what they did was it was the patients against doctor, and a few people got killed, a few people got taken hostage, which again still happens to this day in prisons and things like that. People get taken hostage by inmates. So again, it's not an uncommon occurrence. The spirits are actually trying to tell people that the doctor is still there. Now the doctor is possessing people, and you find this out because it can literally go into anybody's body. The vengeful body is find the body, burn the body, destroy anything that could trigger this again. And my honest opinion is burn the fucking whole place to the ground with a ritual and then to stop being hurt by this again. Which in this instance, with vengeful spirits, just get rid of it all, start again.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you agree?
pretty much. I mean, not really, not really too much. I mean, this episode was pretty much laid out kind of for you, yeah. And again, this one really didn't, besides their father getting a hold of them with coordinates, it didn't really have much dad or anything like that, but it was another team building exercise.
Is it? I said it. Did the spirits right and the manifestations try and give them clues to find the doctor's remains? Because they kind of did towards the end, as they've been trapped all their time. This is what they've been trying to do all this time. They've been trying to tell people he's in here. You need to like fucking deal with him. I said, is this why the doctor continued to lure people to the asylum so he could continue his work from beyond the grave? Because he possesses one of the, is it Cat, the lassie that's in it with her boyfriend? Because he thought taking her to a scary place was going to make her panties drop. Not all girls are like that, but definitely not her. Because she gives her Dean turns around to her and says, "Do any of you know how to handle a gun?" And she just turns around and says, "Yes." And the guy's face is just like, eh. So I remember for like, because they like kind of cock the gun with the rock salt. Basically, he's just saying like, it won't kill them, but it will hurt. Like, if it hit, human type thing, like you almost killed me. So again, this episode was like kind of predictable, and see, when I think of Asylum, I thought it was the episode where he pulls his trousers down and says pudding, but it's not that
No, it
season.
wasn't this season. Yeah, this episode, when I remember watching this episode, it gave me uh like you said earlier, House on Haunted Hill vibes, American Horror Story Asylum vibes. And I honestly,
That
terrible
was a
season,
terrible season.
but it still gave me those vibes. I honestly felt like this episode, team building episodes between the two brothers, exercises,
It had
speak.
comedy as well,
It
even
did
though it was
have a lot
supposed
of
to kind of
comedy.
be serious because they're talking about things in the past, because that's how a lot of mental health things, all that stuff did happen, experiments did happen all through time. That's how they found Asperger's, which I've got, ADHD, bipolar, all these nice things, obviously not
Yep, and
things, but
again,
it's
like
life.
Darcy and I have talked about previous episodes, because this episode of Supernatural itself, like she had said, does have a lot of mental health aspects to it.
Scarecrow,
Yeah, it is.
so it
I
is.
do remember
Do you remember
Scarecrow.
Scarecrow? I love Scarecrow. One of my favourite episodes of the full Supernatural show, by the way. Just this episode, seriously, that's my favourite. She's on pagan lore and the importance of sacrifices in this episode. This is a small town that's known for its apples, apparently, and it's a beautiful orchard, even though it's creepy at night time. But I prefer it creepy at night time. But again, that's just me. Out of town, and the families who have lived here have been carrying out this tradition to keep their apples growing and keep the health of the trees in the orchard from growing bad. Sounds legitimately okay, wouldn't you think? Nothing bad. It's like a tradition, a small town where people have came over from, like, was it Nordic countries or
Scandinavian, yeah.
Scandinavian countries? Yeah. And it flags up because couples have been going missing. A male and a man and a woman for, is it, I think it's 8 days. They said in 8 days they've got to sacrifice a man and a woman, because again that's fertility, and that helps the orchard. And basically what they do is they make the car break down, and then these nice people, nice strangers, offer you shelter. They fix your car, or so they claim. They give you they fatten you up with the apple pie, give you something to eat, hot drink, etc. Because it's always fucking pissing down, apparently, when these people are getting this happening to them. And then they break
I
down
do.
again, don't they? Just as they get to the orchard. Get out their car, don't
Like
they?
idiots.
Yes, they do. Do they walk into the
Like
orchard?
idiots.
Yes, they do. Yes. And then they see the creepy scarecrow that looks similar to Jeepers Creepers, the monster from that. It fucking moves, and they're still staring at it, and it's still moving. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's moving ever so
Yep.
slightly. Do you know what I mean?
Like
So
idiots.
yes, again. And then I know it. Yes, this is okay, Bobby. Seriously,
Well,
you're
I
acting
mean,
like
if the shoe fits.
so exactly, if the shoe fits, definitely with these people. So what do you think happens to this couple? Turn around and the scarecrow's not there anymore. Oh my god, what do they do? She's like, oh, oh, oh. Surprise, there are the sacrifice. They get rid of the cars. No one knows, and it's just randomly because someone didn't contact a relative that they actually realised that people are going missing. So Sam and Dean end up going to the town to find out, don't they? Yes, yes, yes. Whose daddy issues are worse? Dean or Sam? Let us know in the comments below. Question: is John Winchester being sincere to his children or not? Was this always the way for the boys to end up working together so their father could concentrate on other priorities? Why was his wife killed? For what reason? Again, let us know in the comments below. This episode is about sacrifices, and again, people who become hunters are usually victims of tragedy and their own loss. They sacrifice their lives to go after what killed their loved ones, and then in turn help others and prevent tragedies happening to them. Sam and Dean investigate in their own wee way. They'd go all Jessica Fletcher, but they don't kill people. They save people. They're anti Jessica Fletcher. If you don't know who Jessica Fletcher is, she is Angela Lansbury, and Angela Lansbury plays this character called Jessica Fletcher in Murder, She Wrote, and she's basically a travelling killer who blames it on other people. So the whole story in this is a small town. If they don't kill, basically, and do their sacrifice, then their orchard literally starts to die, basically, because that was the ritual when the Scandinavian, the origins of the people who came to basically the town, isn't it? Basically, that they sacrificed, they made a sacrifice and did a ritual so they could, like, it was something to do with where they were from in Scandinavia, and they brought a tree, a part of a tree, wasn't it? A branch or something like that from a tree, a sacred tree in wherever Scandinavian country they were from. To basically be all and end all of this is they have to sacrifice for the orchard for them to actually survive as a town, because the orchard is what makes them money, basically, because of their famous apples. So again, for the best chance for their apples and be plentiful and have a big harvest, rich in life, blah blah blah. People come from all over just for these apples. Apparently, I was like, are they made of fucking crack? I said the way they fucking describe them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what's so special? So to keep it alive, they got to do a sacrifice. So if they can't make a sacrifice, because Dean kind of interject, didn't he? And he just like fucks
Yes.
with their plans. So do you know what they do? The bastards. They take basically a girl who you see at the start of the episode who had to move there because her parents died, and her aunt and uncle took her in. And her aunt and uncle, I thought the uncle was evil, but the fucking
Yes.
aunt is an evil bitch. She's the one who basically says that you have to fucking die because and it's like they could literally offer themselves because they're old. They're an old couple. They're still a man and a woman. Do you know what I mean? So why didn't they? Because they're fucking cowards. And they take Dean, even though Dean is not her boyfriend. It doesn't matter. That's what they said. It will just. I think they prefer it to be a couple, but it doesn't really. Obviously it's a bit
Yes.
loose in the story, isn't it? About if it has to be a couple. So this episode has a lot of symbolism of hunter and being hunted, but in a different way. They don't end up getting the sacrifice they want. At the end of the episode, when Sam comes back, because Sam actually pisses off in that episode, I forgot to say, they have a domestic, as you would put it, and he ends up walking away, remember? And then he ends up coming back because there's something wrong. When he comes back, he saves the day. Well, the Scarecrow takes revenge and goes for the nearest couple it sees and takes them instead. For the sacrifice, basically. We see the fact that the orchard is starting to die because, well, the last sacrifice obviously wasn't
Made.
as good
Yeah.
as previous years, basically. So, and also they burnt the tree and everything like that. So they can't do that anymore. So I don't know what they're going to grow. Maybe nothing. Who knows? And Dean, I just love his wee line. I hope your
Right.
apple pie tastes
Dean
good.
and his pies.
Always thinking of.
I did.
So, did you like that episode?
But in all fairness, the next episode is one of my favorites. Yep.
Faith? That's a brilliant episode. And Julie Benz
Yes,
is
she
in
is.
that from Buffy. She's always hot. I'm not a blonde kind of person, but I like Darla. I think it's just because she's a vampire and she looked innocent, but she wasn't. She's innocent yet deadly. So a continuation recap. Typical Supernatural. And this episode is again a favourite of mine. They use Don't Fear the Reaper from Blue Oyster Cult, which is another good song. And again, it fits very, very well with this episode. I don't think I wrote very much about this episode, actually.
Didn't, but I mean, there wasn't really. I mean,
They start off basically at another job, and then something happens to Dean, remember, and he has to go to the hospital and he's got something wrong with his heart. And then they take him to a healer. And apparently this preacher has been healing people. But then they find out that, yes, he's healing people, but someone's dying in the process for this person to be healed. And we find out in this episode that, what is it? What is chasing these people?
good old Grim Reaper.
Who's chasing? Exactly. And again, we find out a lot about Grim Reapers, don't
We
we?
do.
And Supernatural later on. Preacher doesn't know what he's doing though. Talk about his backstory. He was diagnosed with cancer and they went blind and they put him in a coma. And then apparently his wife prayed so hard that he was healed, apparently. But she wasn't. But she was doing something she thought was right because it was going to save her husband, the man she loved. So she did have good intentions, but as you can imagine, it's kind of a full-time job when you've got something you've got to literally offer up souls to save others because it's people who she thinks that they shouldn't be alive anyway, so she's trying to become God herself. Julie Benz is in it, she's a brain tumor, but Dean's taken before her, which I thought was pretty sad, but again, at the end of the day, it's not, she's not in the show. I mean, she's just like a random character that's in this episode. So that's pretty much what happens. Well, Joe, doesn't Sam phones his dad? That's
Yes,
the other thing,
to let him know about Dean.
and says, I said to myself, "Will John show up for Dean?" I laugh in the face of death. That's what Dean says as he's getting out the hospital as well. So even when he's in the death's door, he still wants to solve this case basically as well, wasn't it? Like, because they find out about the case and people dying when they're there. There was a significant clue that when Dean was healed, wasn't it? The person died at the same time because the clock stopped because it was a healthy guy
Yes,
swimming
I think it was a high
that
school
dies when
swimmer.
Dean's taken. But Dean sees, and also Dean sees a figure which ends up being a Reaper. And then again, they manage to find out who is doing what and how, and they, in their Winchester ways, find out. And they have to find out who summoned. Again, it's the wife. But they think they've stopped it, but they actually haven't. That's the thing. Do you not remember? They're in the middle of is it healing Julie Benz? Then they've got to
Yes.
stop. Dean, you're not going to let me die in peace, are you? Sam's response, I'm not going to let you die, period. And that was him showing that he was scared as fuck and he was trying to prevent his
Yep.
brother from dying. And it didn't matter what he did, he was going to do it. I like how Dean rips the piss out the preacher and he actually turns around and goes, I may not have sight, but I have really good ears.
Yes.
Thought that was really funny because he heard exactly what he fucking said. Another similar song lyric said by Dean, I can't shake this feeling anymore. And again, they use the song Real Speedwagon, I can't fight this feeling anymore, which is similar. In
Good
that
old
episode.
REO Speedwagon.
And another hidden Easter egg, do you think? That's on it. I'll take a note, I guess I said, I'll take a note of any songs in the episodes and line them up. And I did say I was going to do that anyway. So at the end of this episode, Dean's healed, obviously. They've destroyed everything, haven't they? They managed to get the Reaper and they had to kill the wife, basically, was it not? Did they kill
Um,
her? They took her out anyway. I
I
can't
don't.
actually
I don't
remember
think.
now. I did watch the episode multiple times because I deleted,
I don't. I don't
or did they take
think
her out?
they killed her. I think because she failed to Yeah, to
Oh, the
continue
Reaper was
providing the Reaper with souls.
sacrifice.
I think the Reaper
Yeah.
ended up taking her out before
Because she
Dean and
actually
Sam got
turns
to him.
around and says, it's the end of the episode, and her mum's bitter, remember, because she's got that brain tumor and she's not healed. And she turns around and says, God works in mysterious ways. And then she runs her hand through the side of Dean's hair and she says bye to him. And Dean turns around to her and says he's not the praying type, but he's going to pray for her. And her response was, well, there's a miracle right there. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so cute. Dean actually cares about someone other than himself. Although he does. You said that was one of your favourites. Is that your favourite
For
overall or just
season
for
one,
season
it's my
one?
favorite overall.
So we've got Nightmare next, which is the one that actually is a story for the continuation. It's the one about, Max and what's happens to his
Yes.
parents and stuff. Do you remember
I
the boys get
do. Are
telekinetic
you
powers?
skipping episode 13?
So, oh shit, episode 13, sorry. That was what? Don't blame me. Right, so the recap, Supernatural say again, episode starts and there is a vehicle driving Cape. I can't pronounce that. It's in Missouri. Can you pronounce that for me? Because it's an American.
Gerardo.
What is it? How can you
Gerardo.
pronounce it again? Right, there we go. Luna said it. There's no way. I can't roll my R's, so it's very difficult to say words like that. This is something to do with
Yes.
Dean's past and someone he loved. She contacts him and says that people are dying in our town, and it's people of color that are being killed in crazy driving accidents, basically. And then again, this is another episode that's kind of tying up loose ends from a past
Yes.
back in the day where it was frowned upon for white people to date black people and all that carry on. And this is what it's about. Like the girl who Dean used to date, her mum dated some asshat rich guy he was a founding family type thing, and they dated and then she broke it off because she was in love with her husband and father of her child who was a person of colour. And the guy basically they were going to elope. That's what they were talking about. That's why this shit's happening. Basically, they eloped. The guy burned down the church they were supposed to get married in. There was a choir of kids in it and they died. And then the guy ended up they tried to say the guy disappeared, didn't they? But he didn't. Because he was taken out by the town, basically, because he was actually doing things like heinous crimes to people of colour in that town because he was basically upset that that woman dumped him for someone else, basically. Silly reason, just get over it, mate, but he couldn't. He just couldn't. So he disappeared. Then apparently was it the mayor bought the house that the guy lived in? And knocked it down, and that's what caused the spirit to randomly come back because they said that this happened like was it 30 or 40 years ago where people were being killed and then it's happening again, but it's a random like vehicle showing up and running people off the road, and it looks like they'll try to say it's S, but it's not because they found out with the tire tracks and stuff that obviously people have tried to get away but they haven't, so they keep hearing a truck constantly and an engine revving. And then you find out it's the connection between the woman that Dean was in love with. And again, Sam finds this out and he's giddy with it. Did you not notice how giddy he was? Try to find out about him and that girl, and he doesn't want to talk about it because Dean obviously loved her and he told her about what he did, and she thought it was a crazy story that he was doing to get rid of her and stuff, and it wasn't. He was trying to he was trying to open up because he trusted her enough to tell her about what his family does, and she thought he was a mentalist. And they ended up breaking up. They have a wee kiss, then they go off and snoo. And Sam knows it, and then Sam just wants to know the information about it, which is creepy as fuck because it's his brother. Why would you want to know about your brother having snoo with someone else? Is beyond me. I don't want to know that about my brother. No, 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 definitely not. What do you not think he was creepy in that episode, wanting to know far too
Yes,
much information
absolutely.
about that and his brother?
Definitely a little awkward.
Do you not think that was weird?
And I definitely wouldn't want to know about my brother's sex life. One, they're my
You don't.
brother. So yeah, I definitely don't want to know about that sex life.
Well, I don't want to know about my brothers either. I'm just like, nope, nope. That's just too creepy. So after they realize that the mother is the she's like everything that ties this together, basically. Truck, was it the actual truck that was the totem, or no? It was the
Yeah.
house, wasn't it? Because they destroyed the house. Everybody had, everybody who was involved with his disappearance, they're being taken out, which again is happens. Again, it happened in a previous episode. It happened in the water one, where everybody was involved basically about a fatality.
Yes.
Basically, my question at the end of that episode, because it was pretty much another episode of what is it, kind of tying up loose ends,
Yeah.
basically that episode, and showing a bit of Dean's kind of softer side. Said, why is it always that the Winchesters have to give up on life? And why is the universe so cruel to them, making them suffer this life over and over, and then just showing them what happily ever after would feel like, and then taking it away from them? That was my question. Which is what I said after I missed an episode, number 13. Crazy. So the recap is him dreaming about Jess again, and he's getting strange vibes. Dreams, nightmares. Sam has a dream, and it looks far too real. So they contact, don't they? Is it the police or something like that to find out if this person's car or reggie plate or whatever is a real thing and not a random vision. They find out that it actually is a real person, find out his name, find out his address, and they show up, but it's already happened. Basically, the guy goes in his his garage, and the garage door comes down. The guy's surprised because obviously it doesn't do that unless you do it yourself. I'm assuming, or press a button or something. But he hasn't done it. Then the doors lock, which again, you know what's going to happen the minute the door's locked and you're stuck in a car. They're going to turn that exhaust on, aren't they? The engine, the exhaust coming. So that happens. So it looks like an S. Then they appear and everybody's outside because they're nosy as fuck because there's police and everything. Drama. And Dean and Sam ask the neighbour, like, what happened? And they're like, oh, he was a nice guy and all that, carry on. Are they always nice guys? No. Is this guy? Definitely not. So you find out the next day when they pose as priests of all things. So they come to the house and the brother of the guy's not happy about the priest being there, but the wife, she's actually really nice. That's when you meet the son. His name is Max, and he's shifty. He is shifty. I'm not being a douche about it and being judgmental as fuck. He comes across as a shifty wee fuck. He's pure fidgety, like he's like Timmy out, man. Like he's on something. Do you know what I mean? Not just the fact that he's got telekinesis. There's something fidgety about him. Then you find out, like they take the EMF. They can't find anything in the house. Then they find out that they've not always lived there. So they go to the previous house and they speak to the neighbours, and then you find out that the dad and the stepmother are actually really, and the uncle are nasty, and they've been abusing the kid. He was like breaking his bones and stuff, and they weren't very nice to him. And the neighbour said he complained about it constantly, and nothing happened. And what was it he said? That the stepmother was the worst because she just stood back and let it happen. That always sticks in my head because go through the episode, he actually does blame her. He says, "But you didn't do it." She goes, "I didn't do it," and he says, "But you didn't stop it either." So he does blame her just as much as them dishing it out. Sam keeps seeing the visions, isn't it? It's not even nightmares; it's just visions, basically, of
Yes.
other people dying, and it's like the uncle, and he doesn't believe them. And see the fact he didn't believe him, I was like, well, I hope it happens to you because you didn't take the warning. I don't know about you, but that was just like, you're not taking the warning, then you just deserve it. And then we know how much of a wicked person he is anyway, so he got what was coming to him. And then Sam sees it again, and he finds out that it's actually Max
Yes.
that's doing it, because Max can move things with his mind. As this is happening, Sam and Dean are in the house, and Max tells them that his dad used to get drunk and then tell him about how his mother died, and that he said that his dad was mental. Then you find out that his mother died in a fire, and she was on the ceiling, and Sam is just like, "What the fuck? There's another person? Holy shit!" Do you know what I mean? He's like pure surprised. Then he like bonds with him because he's trying to tell him like this is happening to me, like that happened to me, that happened to my mother as well. And Max is just like, the fuck? As well. He's like, oh my god, we're really alike. But he still tries to kill the mother because he feels that she has to die and she's got to pay for what she did, which she will get eventually, obviously, but not in this episode, probably. But you know what I mean. In real life, if it was real. So Dean is told to leave the room, remember? And he doesn't want to because he doesn't trust him. And then Sam ends up going in the closet, isn't it? And then he puts
Yes.
the wardrobe in front of it. He actually admits to Dean that he moved it with his mind. And that was because he was under distress, I think. You know, fight or flight. He was trying to get out and prevent something from happening. So him moving it, so that was like his. It's like Max has had more time to perfect his because he obviously can do things that he can't yet. Sam, he's killed 2 people and he hasn't even been anywhere near them. So his power, yes, even they've got their powers at the same time. It's just that when he found out obviously how to embrace his, he's been practicing obviously from killing people and doing stupid shit like that, practicing. So now he knows he can move things with his mind and he gets visions. Because I always thought before we found out about that maybe he was just the one who could see things or predict things. You know, like they don't all have that power. They all have
Yeah.
their own. That's the way I
That's
thought it was
definitely the way
going.
it was going.
So new powers. Sam's abilities are evolving and they're evolving quickly. Sam seems scared and worried about his abilities. Well, why the fuck would you not be? You just move something in your fucking mind for fuck's sake. It was like, of course it's going to be a bit fucking weird. Would you be? That's the thing. I would be like, cool, but what the fuck? Especially if you can't control it sometimes, especially if it's your emotions. You know, if you're in fight or flight, or if you're angry, would you do something that you
Yeah.
regret? Type thing.
Yeah, I'd probably be worried about mine.
Dean really needs guidance with this. Do you agree that Dean needs guidance though? About all the shit that's going on? Because this is new
I
territory
think
for
Dean
him.
would need guidance, yeah.
It said that, see, because they keep that secret from John though. Remember, they actually keep that secret. He doesn't know about it yet because obviously his dad just came back into their
And
life
they don't fully
again.
trust him yet, which is understandable.
Maybe this would help find the demon if they knew more about, I said, what's going on. So now we know that there's potentially more people, children, that were born in
Yeah.
1984. Or again, we find out that it's actually a cycle. We don't know how many years though. It just randomly happens. It seems,
Yeah, because I mean, it
isn't it?
definitely. When I seen that it was kind of like episode where they all got the powers around the same time, it almost kind of made me chuckle a little bit because I know it didn't happen till the show didn't happen till years later, but um, recapping and reliving on this episode, it reminds me of the Umbrella Academy. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
Yeah, I have. It also reminded me of
Yeah,
another
so
show as well.
yes, Heroes.
Heroes
But if you
kind of
remember the
reminded me of.
Umbrella Academy, they had born, yeah, but
All
they were
different
all born
powers.
at the exact same time on the
Yep.
exact same day at the exact same year. So, yep.
Yeah, but in different parts of the world as well. It wasn't just America, it was everywhere. So The next episode, I didn't like the title because of it's a slur for gay people. Really? The Benders? Really? Do these writers not know that this word could mean anything abroad? What they are? So that's what I wrote about that. And so the boys are driving the Impala and they are going to Hipping, Minnesota. Is that how you say it? If I butcher the names of fucking towns, I'm sorry, but I butcher the ones in Scotland as well, so don't fucking put it. There's a little boy watching something skating on TV and he's looking out the window and there's a man walking with the garbage. Again, the music in the background is depicting that there's something about to happen. You know, ominous sounds. And then the man turns back around. He's still watching him, the creepy wee boy, from the window. And then he hears something, a scraping noise. Then the guy is dragged under the car, screaming. And the wee boy witnesses this. So the wee boy is literally traumatized,
I would
yet
be too.
doesn't act it or seem like it. Exactly. Would you trust your abductors when they give you food once a day and kept you captive? Would you fuck? You don't know what's in it? This is from the better on the episode. You see where it's actually they're not dead, the people. They've been taken by random. Would you class them hillbillies? What would you cast them as? People from out of town? I don't know. What would you
Bastards.
actually call them, Luna? The people that.
Outcast.
What did you say? Outcasts, yeah. They stay in the middle of fucking nowhere and they abduct people. They go to a bar and then Sam goes missing. So Dean goes to the police and pretends to be
Yeah, I
an
think he
agent,
was
I think, is it
pretending to be
not?
an FBI agent.
And also, because that's not all sorts of
Absolutely
illegal,
not.
is it?
Kids don't do that at home.
So, exactly. Thank you. Disclaimer: don't do this at home. I'm a, they basically is it the sheriff or is it an officer basically helps is obviously going to help Dean. And she said like if I could see the CCTV footage, that would be great. So it's like kind of like a Winnebago they call it, or like a camper van type thing, and it's really old and crap. It's got a really bad exhaust, and that's what the kid could hear. You find they find that the vehicle just randomly disappears, and she said that's not uncommon because there's a lot of private country roads. And when does that ever turn out good? Private
Oh, when
country
you want a good
roads
night drive, it works.
and vehicles big enough to take people. Exactly. Not a luxury spa and resort they're in. It's you find out that they like to hunt people. And now this has already been done. There was a movie on Netflix that Emma Roberts was in, funnily enough. And it was a game. And it's just instead of being hillbillies, outcasts, uh, hunting you, it was rich people in that movie. And again, it's happened in the Blacklist as well. So there's a few different shows and movies have done this. So what they did is they abduct random people, they take their cars so no one can find them, take all their belongings and stuff, and then they hunt them like because they're bored apparently and they love hunting everything. That's what the guy explains that he's been hunting all his life and so is his father, blah 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 blah. It goes on. Apparently they've been hunting things for a really long time, but apparently hunting people is better than hunting deer. So when they're giving you food, they're like giving you enough energy basically so you can run about so they can fucking do
Yes.
whatever the hell they're doing to you. The two sons are well, they're not the full shilling. Few sandwiches short of a picnic. Put it that way. You can tell just by looking at them, which is terrible to say, but that's what they're at. They're playing. Um, so the guy is alive for now, and then Sam is in there. Sam's trying to figure out a way to escape, but he does remember he kind of unjams the lock, but then the guy tries to escape, remember, and gets killed. He gets what looks like a massive tree branch that they've made into basically how would you call it? It's literally just they've put a point on it, like like it's basically like a
Yeah.
javelin type thing. That's what they use to actually, hunt them down. And they all like scream and stuff like wild animals and things like that. It's very, very strange. I don't know what other shows you might know that actually use this form of alternative blood sport, hunting humans like this, apart from the ones that we've mentioned. If you
Yeah, the
comment
Hunger
below and
Games
let us
too, in
know.
a way.
Has it actually ever happened or still happens? You don't know. You really, really don't know. And again, it gets asked the officer, he's pressed, and she replies, so far pressed. They end up going to the house or the land or whatever, and she handcuffs Dean to the police car because she finds out he's not who he says he is. But guess what? She gets captured because they've just depicted a police officer as being dumb as fuck and walked right into a trap because it's a wee girl that she feels sorry for because it's a wee girl outcast who's mental, who I wouldn't trust. Nope. And
Yeah.
she finds out she's mental. Basically, the whole thing is them trying to hunt everybody. Then they end up getting what goes around comes around, don't they? The dad ends up getting killed because the police officer kills him. I forgot to say the fact that her brother went missing and they find the brother's car. Well, Dean sees the car. So she takes it upon herself. And this is the one thing being in that line of work. You're supposed to protect. You're not supposed to take lives. That's the thing. Although that's a touchy subject in America with police officers and stuff, so I'm not going to even go anywhere near that. So she takes a life because he took her brother from her. But again, anybody would do that if they were face to face with someone who killed their loved one. Dean says as well, it's humans, not demons. He said he'd rather deal with demons because humans are crazy. So it's another episode of family basically overcoming, getting answers. But basically someone had to die because that guy died at the start, basically from the start of the show to actually take them out. But again, they got their
Yep.
comeuppance,
And
didn't they?
again, wasn't too big of a fan on this episode, but this is a episode where again Supernatural still brought in um real life aspects because if you think about it, this episode didn't really have any demons, didn't have any supernatural, you know, background. It was literally about people who just liked killing people for sport.
When you think about it, they
Oh
were
yeah.
demonic in a way, but not demons. But it just shows that
Mhm.
humans can be evil, but a different sort of
Yep.
evil. And that's what I think the show was kind of trying to touch on. If you weren't aware that humans can be just as
Yeah.
evil.
I did just episode was nice.
The episode 16 is called Shadow. Shadow is basically more recap when it's Sam is a shit son, shit brother, just as shit, and also he gets a flashback of them speaking to their father. So more daddy issues then. And then again, it's a recap. It shows you Meg. Remember, I didn't touch so much on Meg because I didn't want to kind of, even though you see a lot more in that episode with the orchard, with Scarecrow, I didn't want to, touch on, who she is yet, even though you would know if you watched the show. So Meg is the girl that Sam meets on the road when he leaves his brother. And this is just a quick recap. If I went into everything, I'd be there all day. So that's why I'm not bringing up Meg to now because this episode actually isn't really that. It's not a memorable one in my opinion. It really isn't. Because I'm actually bringing up because I was like, I remember it. Shadow, yeah. It's the one stalking people, yep. So Meg looked like a lonely girl, just hitchhiking and stuff. But one of the in the end of the episode, she hitchhikes and then she takes out a chalice with skulls on it, because that's always good in it. In a car with a stranger. And it says, "Oh, that's cool." And he goes, "What do you need that for?" She goes, "I'm going to make a call." And then she takes a dagger and she slices the guy's throat. And then she takes the blood and she's talking to it, and the blood's moving. She said, "Why did I have to let them go?" Basically. So we find out that she is obviously there for a reason. She was trying to kind of get Sam to like leave his brother, kind of thing, was it not? They're trying to get the dad. That's who they want all along. It's the dad. And they think by getting Sam that they're going to get it, because obviously he's the weaker brother apparently. So she does a lot of human sacrifices so she can actually speak to whoever it is she's speaking to. So it starts off, a lassie's walking down the street, she's got earphones in, she hears a noise, you see a shadow, she runs into her apartment building, the door's locked, and then you see a shadow and she's attacked and she's dead. Pretty much. That's what happens to everybody in this episode. It's like they don't know. It's a rare ass symbol that's just randomly appearing. It kind of looks like a Z, a Z with like a circle in the middle, and no one understands what. So what did I say here? It said Meg, when she makes human sacrifice from contacts a demon, blah blah blah. Because this episode starts in Chicago. So and there's a young kind of a talented person. I just said that. She looks back, there's a guy and he bangs right into her, and I thought, oh my god, is it going to be him? Do you know what I mean? He's banged right into her. It's always something. She turns around, she looks, and then she looks away. Why do you think Meg was chosen? That was my question, because they talk about that, because you find out that Meg is actually a human body, a human person. Yeah, this is one of the things you find out, that demons can possess bodies and walk about in that. This is actually, you find out that Meg, this is going to be a short recap because it's basically just to get John Winchester here, Daddy Douchebag. Basically, she's been doing these murders to get the boys, to get their dad, because they want John. Of course, they want Daddy Douchebag. So they get Daddy Douchebag to Chicago and they realise it's a trap. And they try and trap her. And she falls 7 stories, is it not? And they think she's dead. And she's not. Um, well, we find out her demonic name. I don't think we ever, because she just developed the name of the human that she inhabits, doesn't she? What was that? She never ever came out with her demonic
I
name.
don't think she
Did
ever
she,
did.
Meg? She said that she was more powerful. So if you know it, let us know. I don't think she did. We'll find out what special task she has with Sam, because she's not allowed to kill him. So we know he's special. Who wants him that bad? And why do they need him? That was my questions. And in this episode, Dean admits he would miss his brother and he came to get him from college because he couldn't do this without him. He needed him, and for Sam to think all this time that Dean was being selfish for turning his normal life upside down that he worked so hard to achieve away from hunting. He has regretted leaving. He seems to think that if he didn't leave, he could have. Sorry, if he didn't leave, he could have prevented Jessica's death. And we found out that if Sam was there, Jess would still die anyway. Would it have changed if they ever met at all? If someone ended up a fatality, who knows? Was Jessica Sam's destiny? His one, like his mother Mary, was John's one, and it seems that she was. Because the dad talks about how Jessica had issues when she was born. She was born in 1984, so she's the same age as Sam, and she, round about the time she was born, shit was happening, like the flickering of the lights and stuff. Because that's what John talks about, that it was probably supposed to happen. So we go into episode 17, which is Hell House. I fucking hate this episode, by the way. And I don't want to skip over it, but we've got to fucking talk about it. Because it's shit. Again, I'll do the recap. What do you think of this episode?
It wasn't one of my favorites.
It's the worst one. The recap, we have Daddy douchebag come back briefly, then pisses off some demons, and he got away. The boys know that they have to stay together to fight this. That tiny pep talk from John talking about family and danger had to have done it, and that pathetic hug that he cares. I think John sees them as a burden. Why else would he abandon them all the time? In the years they needed stability and normalcy and an actual life, yet he would drag them around not having a normal childhood, making friends and having fun, making them outcasts. Preparation for the future, I suppose, who knows? So we're in Richardson, Texas. Young kids in a haunted house. You find out later on that some douchebag and his cousin thought it would be good to paint satanic symbols from album covers and random books because she's at college doing something, history of some sort. They thought it was a good idea because that's always a good idea, isn't it? To paint fucking symbols in the wall that you don't even
Exactly.
fucking know what they do. Idiots. This this is what always annoys me. And then you have ghost hunters talking down to the Winchesters and they have to act fucking dumb. And they're the ones that are shite bags. So it's an urban legend apparently, the Hell House, about someone in the root cellar. But again, you find out it's not. It's a story that's been created by those two, the two cousins. But the symbols they painted on the fucking walls, it meant something. People actually were dying because they found people like hanging in the place. They thought it was a joke and all that carry on. So this is what the whole episode is about, basically, and how they have to burn the whole house to the ground and all that carry on. And it's a dumbass episode of idiots doing idiotic things and doing stupid shit and not fucking thinking at all. Starring Dean Colletrus. They say for the next 100 miles. They start the car, Blue Oyster Cult is playing, I'm Burning For You, which is hilarious because they burn the spirit in the fucking house. The end. Again, filler episode. I hate them, they're pointless, they make no sense. And is it the last we'll see them? Probably not. You felt the same about that episode
Yeah,
too, didn't you?
I'm
It was
not a big
pointless.
fan of filler episodes. Granted, I understand that there's some stuff that needed to be said in these filler episodes, but the filler episodes, in my opinion, feel pointless. Um,
Bullshit.
was it a decent episode? It was all right, but
No, oh my
it was
god.
it was a filler episode.
Seriously?
So, in words of filler episodes, it was shit. But again, for a filler episode, it was all right ish.
The Supernatural season 1 episode 18 is called Something Wicked. Again, recap. Again, Daddy continues obsessed much. Episode starts with, I don't know what the prayer's called. You know the thing that's in Enter Sandman? Now I lay me down to sleep. What do you call that? Is it a prayer or something?
Yeah, it was rare.
Now I lay me down to sleep. So the wee girl's doing that. And her dad's watching. And then she goes to bed. Then she asks her dad about her mum, but then you find out her sister's in the hall. Then when she's asleep, we hear something outside and she gets spooked and she runs to like the window and shuts the curtains. Then she goes back to bed because the window's shut. So remember that the window was shut. So you see a random creepy big ass hand in a shadow outside and it looks like it could be the branch of the tree. But is it the branch of the tree? It's supernatural. Is it hell? So we find out that it's not. It just like you see something and then it just goes like dink and then it's supernatural sign and then it starts. The boys end up in the small town where the kids are getting sick. His dad, what does his dad do? Sends coordinates. Lazy bastard, by the way. So do I pick up the phone and say, hi, how you doing? Not go do this now because I'm lazy as fuck. But this episode, the boys end up in that town, and you find out the kids are all sick and they're all in the ICU, basically, and they're all dropping like flies. The whole town, literally, like, they don't know what the hell's going on and how the kids are getting sick. And the kids are getting so sick that they're putting them into comas so they can actually fight this virus that they don't know anything about. The boys actually pose as CDC agents or doctors or whatever, representatives of the CDC, which is the Center of Disease, isn't it, in America? CDC. So they come to the hospital and they're trying to find out what has been going on. They speak to a doctor called Dr. Highgate, or is it Hightower? I'm trying to think. He's got a weird ass name. Why do I think it was Hightower is beyond me. But the doctor basically, if you say, he's very helpful. Now, if you know anything about horror and supernatural, when they are helpful and asking them questions, there's something not right about this. So he said, anything you can do, I'll help you. Okay. So they try and find out what's happening to the kids, and then they find out this has happened before. Shock horror across other states in America. And it's been going back since the 1890s, apparently. So they find out that they blame it on windows being open, and that's how the kids are getting sick because of a draft. Because a draft can make you sick. It can give you the flu, the cold, or whatever, depending on what your immune system is like. But they just can't make any sense of it because it's not just one child that's getting it, other children are getting it in the family. Like it's totally wiping out people and they just don't know why. So they find out that it's actually a striga, which again has been used in The Witcher as well recently. And they're from Albania. Of the immunity, not just of kids, but apparently they prefer the life force of a kid because it's stronger and purer. That's why they tend to go for children. So in a children's ward, that that's great. So in the episode, you see how hard it is for Dean growing to take too much responsibility on rather than having a childhood of his own. This is how I feel that he blamed his dad to an extent, even though he respects his dad and he wants his dad to be proud of him. When he should have been there, not away from them. And because Dean was a child, he did something reckless in his father's eyes, or that's how he says it. He wanted some downtime to be a kid, not an adult, which he clearly wasn't. He was basically left with Sam on his own because his dad went to fight. It seems to be this somewhere else, wasn't it? He said, if I'm not back by Sunday, call Pastor, whatever
Yeah.
his name is. You see him trying to like make his dinner when he's not much older than Sam, and Sam wanting Lucky Charms or something like cereal, and he said you can't get it. He goes, I seen it, and then he gives Dean the toy. Dean puts him to bed, and then he fucks off to the arcade, and his brother ends up, isn't it? It's just like something happens to him, and he said it happened on my watch, and Dad never forgave me, and like he's basically explaining right there and then that he's been trying to make up for that entire time, which is probably over almost 15 years of trying to prove to his dad that he's not a fuck up and he's not going to do that again. And I felt so bad for him. My was like heart was breaking for him because he was just like saying that. Do you know what I mean? Like, Dad will never forgive me if anything happens to you again. And he was so disappointed in me because when a parent says disappointing to a child is worse than anything else, that word, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. That is such a parental thing to say to piss someone off. So when he's explaining to Sam that he doesn't want this to happen to any more kids, again, they look into more things. And for Sam and Dean not to be working together, it's because in the motel they're in, the wee boy gets sick, the younger brother. Again, it sparks showing a younger brother being looked after by a bigger brother and a single mum. But obviously it was a single dad in their case. Taking the mum to the hospital to see the wee boy, and Sam goes to the library. I remember when he's looking through all the articles, he sees a picture from 1893, and it's the doctor for the hospital that's in it. And he says to Dean on the phone that it's him. He must be the Striga because that's 1893 and he looks the fucking same. So they know it's him. They're going to set a trap. They ask the older brother of the family that run the motel to be bait. But Sam doesn't want the kid to be bait, but he's trying to explain it's got to be a child. He'll know if it's an adult. Because obviously he can sense the kid's pure, obviously, and it's immunity. So he says, don't worry, I'm a really good shot. Don't worry. And the kid's shitting itself. Of course it's trying to you're asking them basically to be basically play a victim, basically. So they get it because like they said it can't be killed. But then Dean says, Dad said if you catch it when it's feeding, it's vulnerable. So it's the only time you can kill it. So they manage to kill it, and again, they do like a wee bonding thing. It's just like Sam says that, it's more like saying to him, like, you were just a child yourself. I'm sure Dad doesn't blame you because he's pretty much telling him that I don't blame you
Yeah, I
type
mean,
of
he was
thing.
only a child
And
at the
Dean is
time.
really sad. He genuinely looks like, but it's something he had to do though. He had to kill this Striga for his dad to make up for the past. And that's pretty much what that episode is about. It's like his unfinished business. And again, he was telling Sam about it because Sam couldn't remember. And I was thinking, see, because he just because he was a kid, he might not remember, but maybe that could be one of the side effects of being attacked by a Striga, that you don't remember if you survive. Because no one's ever survived before. They've never said the people have survived. So that will probably be a journal thing
Yeah.
they'll put in. Because again, all hunters have journals, and that's how you learn and know about how to destroy things. So I said Winchester's to the rescue, and they can rescue me any day. I said they, not Dean. I said they. I'm warming up to Samuel. The next episode is called Provenance. Can you remember this one?
Yes.
About the
Yes.
painting and the creepy wee girl? Well, it's a creepy painting. Yeah, family. Well, it's a dad looking angry at a wee girl. A couple win this picture, this painting at a charity auction, and they take it home. They're getting ready to snooze now. Then she goes to bed. What's that smell? That will be your husband lying beside you, covered in blood. It happens to her. So the boys end up in the town because the story's in the paper. Then there's a pretty brunette that takes Sam's eye, and she likes Sam. It's obvious. Such big red flags there that she was hoping for him,
Oh, yeah.
wouldn't you say? Although she's pretty. So I think she's pretty on Jess actually, but hey. So the painting, they asked where it is, basically, because they were just saying that is it they won. They end up going to the auction anyway, and it's weird. Auction house finding about the painting. Then the dad sells the painting again before they're ejected. Remember, because Dean's eating
Oh,
all the
yeah.
snacks, as you do, all the canapes. Remember, he just loves his food. So the painting's evil. Thinking, how the fuck can it be evil? Well, there's the wee. Everybody thinks it's the dad in the painting. No, it's the creepy wee girl. Of course, it's the creepy fucking wee girl. Always, it's actually wee girl. It's in Kingdom Hospital.
I
It looks
think
like,
so, yeah.
if you remember that. So you've got her, and then you find out that she's actually adopted.
Hmm.
Remember? And her parents were actually they just randomly died. They go to the is it the crypt where is it necropolis where the family are actually like buried, and they were just the girl actually says like there's a doll in the painting or something. Remember they said that there was a doll in the painting, and they said the doll was probably made of the wee girl's hair before she died. That's what they did. So they'd have their toy in death, because that's what you want as a creepy porcelain doll to fucking carry about in the afterlife, isn't it? Exactly. So another story of it's the creepy wee girl. They destroy the painting. They have to destroy the doll because it's not the painting, even though it is the painting. Because it's the dad that's trying to warn you that there's something not right, and he's watching her in the painting, and she moves, and she comes out the painting, should I say, as well, because you hear her fucking laugh. She laughs, and it's creepy as fuck. So they destroy it, isn't it? They destroy it, and it's like it's been going on since 1912. Everybody has the paintings died unexpectedly, randomly as fuck. After they solve it, because that's pretty much what it is. It's literally a painting, a creepy painting that kills people, but it's actually a wee girl. They find the doll, they burn it, then it's safe apparently, And then Sam gets some, does he not? Does he get some? Or do they just like flirt?
I think they just
Because
flirted.
she calls him sweet in her cake. She's talking about life or death because that's such a turn on to new girlfriends or new women in your life. Talking about, life and death and people dying and shit. That's what we all want to hear. Sorry.
Maybe we
Maybe
do.
we do. When you, I says, I like this though, when you shut out your pain, shut your pain out, everything, Sarah says to Sam, and I totally agree. Because I know it's happened to myself. When you shut out all your pain, you're shut outing out everything. You're not letting anything in. And that is so true. So we've got Dead Man's Blood. This is my second favourite of season 1 because it's about vampires. Now, in this instance, the hunters don't know about vampires, don't they
Yeah, I
not?
don't think
Well,
Sam
Sam
and
and
Dean
Dean
did.
don't. Because, again, it's one of those things that. But his dad did because. We'll talk about why the dad does. Dad's got a friend. That was his speciality, wasn't it? The old guy, Mr. Elkins. Mr. Elkins is basically in a dive bar drinking, and apparently he's obviously local because the woman knows him by name. And he's writing in his hunter's journal at the bar, and the door opens in the bar and it shuts, and he doesn't even look up. He knows, he senses that they're there because they're always in packs, vampires in this. Similar to the way you portray werewolves, how they're always in a pack. Vampires, it never used to be like the cool thing was usually they were lone or there was like 2 of them. There was never like huge amounts of them. But this is another take on vampires, obviously. He notices they come in, then he fucks off. But what they tell you, John tells you, once they've got your scent, once that's it, they know your scent. So even if you're not near them, if they smell you, they will sniff you out if you've done something to them, isn't it? So Mr. Elkins, I'll just call him Elkins. Elkins killed one of these vampires' family, wasn't it? Totally massacred them and just left him, or he got out, basically. And that's why when they caught his scent, they basically followed him. It was like a hunt again, hunting him. He realised who they were, went to his house, like his cabin, and tried to basically hide something. But they came in, which means that rule of, in this means they can come in to your house. It's not like, where you have to be invited. They can just walk in. And they destroy the house. They find. I don't know, were they actually into finding it? I don't think they were because she said it's old. So I don't know if she was drawn to it or she just took it because he was protecting it. But they kill him, as they do, because they're killers, being vampires, we're their prey, and the boys end up going there because Elkins was one of John's friends, but they had a falling out, didn't they?
Yes.
That's what he says. They had a falling out about something. The woman is a kind of alt-looking woman, who actually is who kills Elkins basically. And just after that, they lure a couple in a car. Don't they think one of them's lying on the ground like they've been knocked over, and they try and help them. And can imagine what happens. They get taken to a old derelict barn and are kept there and fed on. But it's never really. Well, she actually does share blood with them. So it's not like, if they are bitten and that's it, they obviously have to share blood for that connection. It's not just on a bite. And basically, it's like a reconnection. They've got a gun called the Colt. And this is what is really important with this episode because the Colt is a gun that was created, certain amount of bullets that can kill anything demonic, including the demon that killed Mary and Jess. That is why it's so important. And Elkins was obviously protecting it because if they knew this, because the gun actually was, they thought it was a myth. Demons, they didn't ever think it existed. there's just a lot of talk and no one had seen it as well. So the vampires have got the gun basically. They're having a party, having fun, doing as they do. They break into the place to kind of get a sense of what they're dealing with. When John tells them it's vampires, Dean's like, "What? Talking about? What?" He was like, "Are you dripping the piss?" Do you know what I mean? So I said, "Yes, they exist. You've got to take their head off." That's what he basically tells him. And he finds a tooth and he goes, "Oh, a fang." And he's like, "No, it's their second teeth that retract when, isn't it? They appear when they're basically, they come down when they're about to feed, don't they? They've got their normal human teeth and then the whole teeth, they've got teeth that go over basically their other teeth, they're vampire. So it's no fangs in each side or double freshers like werewolves. They have their scent, so they say now they know your scent, they'll come for you. So they'll basically come to you. Jono, I love the bit where he tells you though you've got to take their head off because he opens his goodie box in his car and it's got all those
Yeah.
weapons in it. And it's just like, ooh, that's much more fancier than the voices one. Do you know what I mean? Where do they actually get this shit from? Do you know what I mean? It's not like you can buy all that shit at once, is it? Without like raising some flags. So it says, John says to them, "Daddy douchebag, you boys really want to know about? It's just a story, a legend." And then he reads Daniel's letters. When Haley's comet, apparently, and the gun in the coat was made for a hunter. It had 13 bullets, and then the hunter disappeared, and so did the gun. So they say the gun can kill everything, like the demon that killed the mother and Jessica, like I just said. And that's what they're going to keep for it. Reminiscing about Sam, about when he was born, like trying to be nice to him. Like when you were born, I put $100 into like a bank account for you for going to college, and every month I'd put $100 in. And then Sam says, "What happened to that money?" "I bought ammo." He goes, "Well, at least it
Right.
went to good use." It was when their mother died. Do you know what I mean? So they used it for something good. It probably protected them. John is explaining to Sam that all he saw was evil and he just wanted to protect his kids. That's why it felt like it abandoned him and he trailed them around for the greater good of all mankind. But they didn't have a good childhood and it was technically abusive, even though he's trying to be, "Oh, I did it all for you." He said he became their drill sergeant and not their dad, and he didn't want Sam to go away to college because he couldn't protect him. And John didn't realise how different they were, yet they were still the same. More in common now than they did before because of Mary and Jessica. We find out how to kill vampires in Supernatural, and it's dead man's blood, soaking the weapon in that, usually an arrow. So to lure them, they basically just wait for them, basically. And then when they come up, they think that they're like, "Haha, we found you." And then she's like, "Yeah, arrows can't kill us." And they just turn around and say, "Dead man's blood." And her wee face, wah wah. She's like, "What? What the fuck?" So she was not happy about that. And John said she's important to him. He'll come for her. Because when vampires mate, they mate for life. So she's important to him. So that's how they end up getting. Is it Luther? That's the vampire's name. He's around I think it's 1800 marks. He's from where they explained because the coat was made in
Yes,
the
it was.
1800s, was it not? Around about that time. So he's a couple of hundred years old. So they basically kill everybody. They win. I do love the episode, but there's not much we can say. It's vampires. You're either going to get killed by them or you're going to be killed. Or they're going to be killed. Sorry. So they fight together as a family. And this is the first time you actually properly see them actually hunting together. Not just like the one with Meg, where it was like they were just being trying to be lured there. They properly hunt and take down a vampire's nest. And it was kind of like a wee reunion
Family
thing, you
was
say.
working together, yeah.
And this is kind of tying you up for like the next two episodes. I said the family's together, they play the supernatural theme, and Daddy Daddy douchebag replies with, "We stick together." Has the hunt for the demon that killed both Mary and Jessica commenced? What has John been doing all this time that he managed to find him? Why this long? Why now? And why at this time was John not the hunter he is today or the detective to find out all of this when the boys were younger? So why has he got the clues now? That is the question we must ask ourselves. And this is what's been bothering me. Was he that shit at the start to find the answers? Why now when Sam's at college? Why has he only just found out? Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, was he that shit? What do you think?
I agree. I mean, you kind of hit it. I mean, yeah, you kind of hit it on the
That
head. I really don't know if there was really much kind of throw else in there because you did. Yeah.
what about vampires? So do you agree that why the fuck did he not know more answers? Because he's had what it happened in 1984, and when did this? Was it 2004 it started? Supernatural.
I think 2004, I do believe.
2005, sorry. September the 13th. So, oh my god! Today's September the 13th! Holy
Yep.
shit! That is a fucking fluke. Holy shit! That was a fluke. We didn't even know that. We just looked that up there. That's good. I'm going to
Heck yeah.
definitely keep that in.
The irony.
That we actually recorded this in September the 13th. I know! This is brilliant. I never even did that. So, yeah, so it's a year after, so it's 21 years later, and now he's getting answers. It makes no sense. What the fuck's he been doing all that time? Has he been away pumping other birds and having loads of wains and just like randomly leaving his wains so he didn't want to be a dad, but he just wanted to go out and have a
Sounds
good
about
fucking
right.
time? Pump his way around America. So, the next episode is called Salvation, and we're on episode 21. We're coming to an end. This is going to be a fucking belter of a podcast. It's going to take me days. So I've got to re listen to it.
It
Takes
is
about
so
4
far.
days. But it's
We're
worth it.
going on or hour 3, hour 4. It is definitely going to be a
That's
long one.
fine. Well, we
10:45.
started at what? It was 4:45, and now it's Salvation. First proper recap since Daddy Douchebag came. In supernatural fashion, we have the song that has paved the way for this show. What song is it?
Carry on my wayward son.
Carry on my wayward. Yes, exactly. That's the song, and it's used constantly, and it's basically an anthem for this show that shows the past to the present and the family back together, but for how long? Again, I love this song, and I know for a fact this song is a huge deal for all the supernatural fandom and the actual people like Jensen and Jared themselves, because they have their wee gigs and stuff where they actually play music with other members of the cast, which I'd love to have went to. I don't know if they still do them, but it would be really nice if they did something like that for an anniversary or something. I would totally try and go to that. Leave my house. So basically, it's preparing for the finale in supernatural fashion. It's a build up. I said the recaps in the finale build up. The soundtrack, the visuals, we salute you creators of Supernatural, because again, no one has made a show like it. No one has done anything anywhere near as good or even had blows everything out the water in the whole Supernatural game, in my honest opinion. I'm a big X Files fan. Never thought anything would ever top X Files, by the way, or Millennium or any other shows like that I used to watch, but Supernatural does. It really, really does. Everything's attention to detail. Absolutely love it. So, Salvation, basically, we are in a church, and it's the one with Pastor Jim. You know, the in case of emergency for the boys. She walks through the church now. If you know anything about demons, they're not supposed to be able to walk on hallowed ground, basically, for walking into churches and stuff. So she walks in, no problem. Pastor Jim doesn't really know who she is. She says that she wants to confess and she's done all this shit, blah, blah, blah. Then he realises who she is. Thinks she shows her her eyes. And he said, why, how can you do this? Because I'm a higher level of demon, she admits. Never says her name, but she does say she's a higher demon. She says that's basically told us that higher demons, that basically, depending on what you are in hell or where you are, depends on what you're able to do and what things can kill you and what things cannot kill you or do you damage. Holy water still works for them all. So we know that. Meg sends a message by killing the poor priest or pastor, and that it's basically to send a message to John, so John comes to meet them because they want the gun, because now they've found out that John Winchester's got a gun that can kill demons. Not good, and Megan is a demon. So their infant wisdom, they think John's like, I'm going to buy another gun. They've never seen the gun before. They don't know what it looks like. We can make it look like it. We'll go to an antique shop, buy the gun, but he's only got a certain amount of hours to actually get to this place, which is physically impossible unless he flies. But he can't fly with a gun. Neither you can. Well, he can't. They get to the place, don't they? And she realizes the gun isn't the proper gun. Oh dear. Double cross, double cross. So this episode is, I don't think it's a two-parter, but it feels like a two-parter because of the continuation of the story and the next one. So I'm just going to do them both together, because even though, and I'll, when I'm talking about them, because the next episode is called The Devil's Trap, and that's the season finale, but I'm going to go through the episodes just in case they overlap because of the story.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Is that okay? Because you know that does bleed over the story into the episode. So
It does. So
we have. It does. I said, why does Sam look like a hobo? I don't know why that question's in there. Obviously, it made
because he
sense
probably
to me at
did look like a
the
hobo.
time. Do you know that being there? Why does Sam look like a hobo? Why does the mother have to die, though? Why not the father? That's what I said. I'm not saying that's a nice thing, but you know what I mean? Why is it the mother that has to be? You know what I mean? But hey. The signs of this happening again, it's happened in the area, random events, cattle, deaths, electrical storms, fluctuations in temperature. That's what you're saying happened when Mary died, and the same with Jessica, because he's actually looked at the weather and things and looked at events back from that time. In Salvation, Iowa happened as well. That's where Jess is from. Sam Dean tell their dad about the visions finally, remember? Because they're talking, they forget that their dad is there and doesn't know about the visions and the nightmares. And he's like, when the fuck were you going to tell me? It's like, really, the look he gives him, it's like a pure stern. How am I just finding out about this? Sam tells his dad that he gets visions, and it's only happened when he gets close to a. When he get. Oh, sorry. It only happens, it doesn't happen all the time, it only happens randomly when something's about to happen. And then the phone rings, and who is it that's on the phone? Meg! Meg is on the phone, and she's talking to John, and she says she's being kind of flirtatious on the phone with John, even though she's been cheeky and cocky towards him. Anyway, they're all free together for now. Daddy goes off to meet Meg, and the boys are basically they've not went with him, but then they end up going with him, isn't it? They end up going and saving their dad's ass. They say they're not taking the gun with them, but what does Dean do? Dean takes the gun with him, even though he says he's not. The dad's obviously been held captive by Meg, and if you can remember First Wave, the actor and the character and that's called Cade Foster, he was the other demon that was with Meg. Dean's is like, who's the best shot, Dean or Sam? That's what I was asking myself. Dean, are you just willing to sacrifice yourself? That's talking to his dad. Dean again, hope we never find this demon if it means he dies. Dean, they are gone and they ain't coming back. Talking about Jess and the mother because like they're having a wee argument, a wee domestic again. They fight like an old married couple. not brothers. Dean is admitting he's not always great and his mental state isn't always there, but all he has is Sam and his dad, and he's not losing anybody else. And when the boys are trying to find their dad, Meg answers his phone and he says, "You boys really screwed up this time." Dean, where is he? Meg, you won't ever see your father again. What did Meg mean by that? Why did I write that? It's so self-explanatory. She's a fucking demon. Also, why did Meg say why did Meg say before that she was more powerful, so Halley Ground doesn't work? Yeah. John said more would take her place, so she isn't that higher up, but she's higher up than your lower demon, just that there's plenty of people that can take her place, basically. So they've taken John because he double crossed them, and then we go into Devil's Trap, which is season 1, which is pretty much the setup for season 1. The boys are preparing for the battle at the end. Now, John, this ends. This ends now, basically, he says at the end of the last episode, like before. Talking about the cult has one less bullet now, so apparently there's only 3 left. The song playing through the finale recap is Fight the Good Fight, which again is just building up the finale. Dean, they've got Dad, he takes the coat and tells Sam they gotta go. Dean says we're leaving now. Sam wanted to go in half cocked. They have no plan, so they're leaving and they're trying to find a way. Dean quit talking about him like he's already dead. That's insane because Sam is talking in the past tense rather than the present, and it's really fucking annoying him. It would annoy me too, because they're trying to stay focused like their dad's still alive. Well, on the thought that their dad's still alive and they've got something to fucking fight for. Why the hell would Sam take that away? Dean wants to go to the warehouse. Their dad was meeting Meg and Sam. Sam says, "You really think the demons left a trail?" Dean's response to Sam, "You're right, we need help." Then they drive. Where do you think they go to? Where do they go?
Oh,
Do you know?
well, there's a bunch of places, but no, I don't. I actually forget.
They went
Oh,
to
that is right.
Bobby.
Yes.
They went to Bobby. Junkyard. Big Rottweiler outside. It's just really nice to see. And he hands Dean a flask, a wee silver round one, and he says, "What's this?" He's like, "Holy water." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, and he looks at Bobby's one. He goes, "No, that one's for me," and it's whiskey. I was like, man after my own heart. I love Bobby. Apparently, John and him don't really get along. John and Bobby, and I was like to myself, John has that effect on people because John's a dick. They're all reading. Sam's reading books and stuff, ancient books, ancient texts. Because Bobby's living room is not like any other living room. It's like a library of knowledge for hunters. Has everything, all supernatural rituals, supernatural. Like it's pretty much better than a hunter's guide. It's like he's spent all that time collecting all those books, and you find out that he actually isn't a natural hunter. His family and stuff haven't been hunters. He actually is one of those people that something tragic has happened, looking upon himself for this never to happen to other people. Another person wanting to do right from the mistakes that he made and his fatality, as we're putting it. We get Bobby. Bobby's brilliant. There's a noise and the dog barks because obviously they've got the dog there for warning and security because a dog can sense something before obviously a human can, especially if someone's not a genuinely good person. We know that. Animals have a really good intuition and that's why they're really good guard dogs and also protection and support animals.
I definitely
Do you
do.
agree?
I definitely do. Mm-hmm.
Especially in that instance. So we have Bobby's dog nowhere to be seen, and then Meg comes through the door, and they start pissing about with her and messing about with her, and then they get her to a point where they need her. They need her to be standing where she is because Bobby's got symbols on the floor, on the ceiling. He's got them everywhere, and she's no noticed, and she's stuck.
Yeah.
Remember, I thought that was brilliant. I still think that 'cause I'm expecting it, obviously. articles and lots of awesome books. Said all legit. Bobby says a storm's coming and you three are in the middle of it. He was talking about how there's only ever 3 to 4 possessions a year and he's had to deal with 23 and still counting. So he's trying to say to them that Meg is a person. That's a meat suit basically. She's basically hijacked someone's body, and it's again not even asking for someone's permission, even though demons don't have to ask permission, but other entities apparently do. And I'm not going into it in case you have not seen other seasons. I will not deprive that of you while I think about that, because we'll get to them eventually, those seasons. So Meg says enough of the crap, and Dean tries to throw holy water on her, and she throws him into a corner of books. That was before she's in the circle. I just wanted to add. She's underwhelmed apparently and calls the boys chuckleheads. Did you really think I wouldn't find you? Well, they were wanting to be found, so yeah, she's a bit of a dumbass, Meg, actually. Because he actually says we're counting on it. Tie me up. Why didn't you ask? I love Meg though for saying that. Because she is very taunting. She taunts Dean all the time, I've noticed. She taunts Dean, but she doesn't really do it to Sam though. Next to him, she taunts Dean. She taunts him about the mother's death. And Dean smacks Meg, and she says she was turned on, and Bobby tells him like, you need to be careful, you can't do that. And they want to do an exorcism, but then they tell Bobby that she fell 7 floors, and he said you can't take that demon out of that body
Yes.
because she will die. Because that body is only being held together because she's a demon. Once you take that out of her, she's fucked. She will die, and it's not the lassie's fault for being possessed by a demon, because a demon can just hijack you whenever the hell you want, which is Dean. No, you're going to burn in hell unless you tell us where our dad is. Meg is saying horrible shit about John to get them to stop, to put them off, and for what? The demon is agitated because of the exorcism. She gives up a state where they were, and Dean says he lied about her, let her go, stop him, he goes, and then tell Sam to finish it. Bobby's looking at them going, no, don't fucking finish it. And then just before they can finish, the black smoke leaves her body and the demon is gone. That's how it exits the body. But it's a fucking shame because the lassie's absolutely fucked. She tells them that was it a year? She's only been awake for some of it. There's only a couple of things she knows. But again, it's like she knew the lassie Meg was going to tell them if they asked a question if she actually did survive. That's what I always thought, that she did it on purpose. So she would actually give them that wee bit of information, just, so they could actually get what they came for, get what they needed. How do you feel about that? Do you think she did that, or do you think it's just caught a timing?
Oh, I think it was the latter on that one. I mean,
It's just hard to tell because you don't know if it was
I have a feeling it was
coincidence
coincidence, but
or would they have found out
I don't
eventually.
know.
You're more like Dad than I thought you want revenge. The demon they want isn't there. Meg says the river and sunrise and then she dies. That's pretty much what happens. You find out the river and sunrise is actually an apartment building. And they call in
It's called Sunset.
what was it? Sunset, yeah. So it's called, she says the river and sunrise, but then they find out it's sunset. So, and it's like the sign is a sunrise type thing or a sunset, whatever. It's a trap, of course it is. They phone in a fire, do they not? Or no, sorry, they don't. They hit the fire alarm, don't they? Sam does, and then they get into the place and they're manage to steal fire department uniform and go into the house, into the apartment flat, and then they find, the demons. They come in with holy water and they get their dad because their dad's lying on a bed, all kinky, lying there, being like tied up. Don't know what the demons were doing to him because he was knocked unconscious. But again, this is what I mean. Exactly. Could have been having fun. You could have been having a nap. A power nap. You never know. Never know what John gets up to when he leaves his family, do you? Nope, nope. Could be going to a dungeon. I'd like to believe that. But anyway. So so you never know. So, right, they get the dad out. So I'm trying to remember. I can remember this episode because I've watched it recently. They get the dad out, but I'm thinking that's too fucking easy. Dad's just there. Then when the dad is just there, they get the dad out, and again Dean kind of like but it's Sam who says, you know, you're not our dad, basically. And they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Then they're like, Dean doesn't know, and then they're both not knowing, and then, that's when his eyes change. What colour do they go? Can you remember?
Oh no, that is right.
No,
They went yellow. Yes, it's
because
Azizel.
it's Azazel. Azazel's has possessed John's body, and he wants that fucking gun. Because it's the only thing that can fucking kill him. Of course he fucking wants it, because it's the only thing that can fucking kill him. Azazel ends up leaving the body, though, that's the thing. And I'm actually trying to remember just randomly how, or do they don't try and exercise him, because he's not the sort of demon you can exercise, because he's much, much higher in the totem pole and the food chain, because he does say, you killed my kids, wasted a bullet. And Sam feels bad about it because he fucking wasted a bullet. He kills Cade Foster. I don't know what the character's name in Supernatural. I just know it's Cade Foster from First Wave. Said, you killed my children. Boo hoo. Do you know what I mean? So why leave the cult? Why do you leave the cult? Safest place, in my opinion, would have been by Bobby, because Bobby could handle himself, because his house is booby trapped and shit. I think he's got everything at his disposal. And he also has a bunker, man, that no one can get fucking in down underneath his house. So he could literally just sit and ride that out in there. Easy enough. But anyway, moving on. The dad was possessed. It was literally obviously that reason. Like, come on, I'm your dad, I'm your dad, I'm your dad. Push. John, you did good,
Yeah, apparently.
apparently. Dean's good work in protecting his family. Dean hesitates and says, you're not my dad. I just said that. John says, go ahead, kill me. Pretends to cry. Then Daddy Douche is the Daddy Douche demon. Like I said, Holly Water does the work. He makes fun of Sam calling him Psychic Boy. I forgot. The demon says it was worth the wait. He's better as baddie. The demon said that the actor, I think, is better off being a bad guy. You know, the
Yeah.
guy who plays Daddy Douchebag. The demon said, how would you feel if I killed your family? That's right. I forgot I did. Still, two wrongs don't make a right. And for a demon to actually say that, that's Sam, why did you kill Mom and Jess? My Mom and Jess. They were killed because they got in the way, and all the other kids' families, that reason was the same too. So you just admitted that there's other families, more, and we know there's another one, but now he said families plural, so obviously it's more than just Max and Sam. Dean's turn, now telling him no one needs him, and he tells the demon he killed his kids, Meg and the other one. Dean is in pain and says, don't let him kill me, Dad. Dad, please. John takes over and says to stop. Sam picks up the gun, shoots him in the leg, because if he shot him in the head, he would kill his dad as well. So he shoots him in the leg because they can escape from there. He's not killed the demon, but he has shot his dad for him to leave. John isn't happy with Sam. Bad Moon Rising is playing, as they're in the Impala. They all get in because they're trying to take, obviously, Dean to the hospital because he's fucked. That's twice he's had problems with his heart in that season. In the Impala, they're rushing to the hospital, and then this truck comes up from nowhere, and the truck driver's eyes are black, possessed. All the Winchesters are bleeding because they've all been taken out at once. All it shows you is the driver with the black eyes, then the car, and the boys and their dads, all unconscious, all covered in blood. It's a cliffhanger for the end of our first season. What does this mean, and what will happen next? And
Yes.
that's season
That is
one.
season 1.
Wow.
We have
We
Finished?
finished. We're at the end.
Yeah.
Was that
I
okay?
thought you did a very good job.
So what did you think? How was that breakdown? I'll get better, obviously, people. Because that was a lot of talking. Because it was mostly me talking because it's me that's rewatching this. But you'll be able to do more. Well, Luna will be doing more the more seasons that we like closer to the
Yeah.
end,
Yeah, once we start
basically.
getting close to
Won't
the
it?
end, yeah. Probably up until season 13 for the most part. Yeah, I'm going to be gonna have my little say-sos in here, but it'll basically
It's gonna
be
be me talking.
her talking for the most part,
Yeah,
because she hasn't
yeah.
seen it at
Because you
least
said
up
you're going to
until
start
season
watching the
13.
ones at the end, or
After season 13, it's
didn't
going to
you?
basically be
When we get
me asking
you're going to
questions,
like
stuff
maybe
like that.
watch like we talked about you watching some of the episodes as we get closer and closer,
Yeah, I'll probably
to the
do
ending.
a refresher on
Remember?
14 and 15 once we get close to that area. I've been doing kind of like recaps, just kind of skimming through descriptions of the season or the episode like that to be able to be here when you answer them so I can remember that.
It's 1 to 12,
My
not
bad.
13. It's 1 to 12.
My
Well,
bad.
it's actually halfway through season 12. My bad yourself. I was like, you literally
My
went too
bad.
far into the future,
But
man. I was like,
what
oh.
did you think of season 1? Like what was your take on this series of brothers with who have daddy issues for one? Um so
Oh,
much.
so much daddy issues,
And
man. It's
also,
totally. But doesn't
yeah,
everybody have
I
some
mean,
sort of
absolutely
issue?
does. And like, what also was your opinion on? Because I mean, if you think about it, the first season sets the tone for every season.
And it's even though it's not. The budget is obviously not there for the first season, but you see it getting better and better. And we spoke about it as well that earlier seasons don't have, the better budgets, but they end up do have better budgets because obviously there's more of a following and more fans watching it, and the more people that are watching it, the more money they get to spend on things. Which is what I like the fact
It is.
there's such a good story. I don't think see like season 1 it does get shit later on, you know what I'm talking about. Season that they've got other writers and you can fucking tell because the quality is shit. The quality is nowhere near as good. It's when they've brought in other people because they think, I don't know whether they're cheaper or someone was blowing who. I do not know. I do not care. But you literally turned me off a show that I literally had invested like at least 5 years into. Do you know what I mean? Like for 5 seasons. And then you just came along and you thought, I'm just gonna fuck with it and I'm just gonna fuck with people and I'm just gonna fuck with everybody else. And oh, I know that was a lot of fucks there, but that's how I felt in that season. And then I was told, right, please watch it because I stopped watching it after that. By this, I don't know if you knew that. I actually stopped watching it for a couple of years because of that season. And then it was actually my sister-in-law who turned around to me and said, it gets better. It gets better. Please rewatch it. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, but just try and get through it because it gets really good again because they bring the other writers back. Please, 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 please watch it because you do enjoy that show. So I did. Persevered, watched through again season 1, 2, 3, 4. I noticed I was like, oh, it's getting to that point again. I dread that and see that way that there is a couple of episodes in this season that kind of remind you back to season 1
Yeah,
and makes you want to
absolutely.
watch it again. I love the first season because you can watch it over and over again. I just don't like the filler episodes. I don't like them. I hate them, and I don't like. I didn't like Hell House, and there was the other one. The one about the outsiders and the outcasts. Didn't like that episode either. I didn't think that was up to much at all. I wish there was more music in season 1, although people who haven't watched Supernatural and the people who have watched Supernatural, people who have watched Supernatural will understand that the finales are brilliant after season 1 because they start this build up and they've got like a song that's basically for each season. Like sometimes they use AC/DC and it was Thunderstruck. And one of these seasons, and holy fuck, that just made you go, yes! Want to fucking watch it. Do you know what I mean? It was like properly like getting you ready for this finale and the next part of the story and getting ready for the next season. And that is one of the things I love about Supernatural because they're literally thinking, how can we make this better than last season? What can we do? What song can we use? What can we do to basically make the audience be like, fuck yes? Do you know what I mean? Getting ready for a battle and all that. That's why I love Supernatural so much because it is so fucking good, and the music makes it amazing. And you've also some people like myself, and you may have like a memory of that song, or just love that song and what it stands for, and it's just everything. And I can't wait for season 2. I was going to start it, but I decided until I do this podcast, I was not watching season 2 because I wanted season 1 to be fresh. Because remember, I had to skip through all those episodes because I randomly deleted my notes by accident on 10 episodes. So I had to skip through 1 to 8, sorry, and then 14, then 18, then another one. So that's basically what I've been doing so I could have all those notes for us and as a guide for us today because that's what we do. I write everything down and then I'm taking basically the questions, the funny anecdotes, funny questions, things that I've noticed, asking you if you've noticed, asking you if you noticed anything else. And that's how we do our podcast. We do a lot of research or it's already knowledge
Yes,
that we already
absolutely.
have. So season 1 for
It
you,
is.
is it similar feels?
Definitely kind of hit it on the head with the filler episodes because, yeah, the filler episodes were pointless, even though they might have had some small story to it in there that may have tied in, but they were there to be there, tie into the season.
You could have just had 20 episodes. They could have literally just had 20 episodes or
Yeah,
18 episodes
absolutely.
in that.
But
Easy.
all in all, I love just Supernatural in general. Um, that first episode, they bring it to light that, these guys are hunters. The dad's missing on a hunting trip and they need to go. Oddly enough, it's like, well, why? He's just on a hunting trip. He probably went to a bar, got drunk. Yeah,
And
and
did
here
and
they
did
find out that they
something
are,
else.
you know,
I
supernatural
would.
hunters, vampires, werewolves, astrigas, anything not to what you were thinking of. I did.
You almost went all Buffy there.
Yeah.
You almost
I
went
mean,
Buffy there because you went you went
like just
vampires
opened
and
up
basically werewolves. It's usually
a whole new, I wouldn't say genre because before Supernatural we had movies and like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, stuff like that. But I think all in all, it opened up a world of, I would say, imagination, a journey, as you would put it, that not only are we getting the demonic, we're getting the vampires. I am obviously, if you have a TV series about demons, you are going to have their count.
well they don't in Buffy and
Well,
Angel they don't
Buffy
have
was
angels.
its own kind.
They
Supernatural
don't
is its own
no
kind.
no
So it did
don't
have
do that.
its plots. It had its Supernatural took its opening. Supernatural was like everything's kind of out of its time now, but we're kind of smooth in there. We're gonna see how we play out, and I don't think the writers that expected this to be a worldwide phenomenon. You have so many people that can literally play both sides. You have Sam, you have Dean, and then you have John. So you have people that are going to be Team Sam, Team Dean, and the very few of us, even though I may be Team Sam, I'm Team Bobby all the way.
Bobby
Because
is
you
the
can't have a
best.
world full of smartasses without having idiots lying around. not seen Supernatural, who has not enjoyed their life enough to actually do yourself a favor, sit down for the American folks. It's on Netflix. All 15 seasons.
Apparently it's on some ITV channel.
Yes,
All
all
15
15 seasons are
seasons?
on
Wow.
Netflix. Enjoy them, love them, caress them.
I think you're giving out the wrong message about this podcast when you're reading out the words in the last
uh,
podcast. It sounded like porn in the order.
I'm going for
You're
it.
really, really, really going for it, aren't you? You're
Um,
just like, yes, I'm just
exactly.
gonna.
Why not?
Why not?
But
Why not?
if you have any questions, comments, or anything like that that you'd like to ask us about Supernatural, about your thoughts like that, we will be on our next Confessions from the Front Seat of the Impala. We will first open up with comments.
Which will probably be over a month because yeah, from this podcast probably. So gives you plenty of time to actually tell us what you think, tell us what if you've just started watching it. Or are you forever fans like us? Do you what do you think? Please don't give me spoilers. Lunar has asked nicely and politely not to because it's not fair on me because I'm literally I didn't want to be didn't want to watch it because I didn't want it to end. So please don't give us spoilers because we don't
Yes,
want
and
them,
trust me,
even though
guys,
you've
it
seen
has
them.
been
What
excruciatingly
news?
hard not to spoil because
For a reaction.
the ending is so good, and it's I've been doing my best, and I respect Darcy to not spoil it. So I will ask you guys to please respect us and not spoil it for her.
So we would really enjoy it if you did not, since like everybody's been like trying their hardest not to do that for
Yes.
me.
So yeah, if you guys do have any questions, whatever on this episode, we would love to hear your feedback, to give you guys our feedbacks, our responses to what you guys think, feel of it, because well, it's worth it when it comes to Supernatural. Or more insight, I guess I should say. Then I will put my mouth in there and start talking a little bit more. That came out so wrong.
It's gonna seriously, are we one of those podcasts
We are
now?
today, I guess.
Really? Well, that was season 1 of Supernatural, and that was our very, very first confessions from the front seat of the Impala. And I'm Darcy Darkness,
And I'm Lunar Rising.
and we'll see you on the next time for season 2 of Confessions from the front seat of the Impala, and we will go back to regular podcasts next week. Later.
Later.